Happy day 2 of the 2024 NBA draft. That is right, you guys. We are live. And as I was talking about yesterday, if you missed yesterday's 4-hour live show, by the way, today's going to be a little bit more of a relaxed show, a fun show, because let's be real, it's the second round of the NBA draft. You know, viewership and ratings are going to drop for that. However, there's still NBA news going on. Like, I believe there's already been a couple of trades, and there's lots of other news. And we can recap everything that kind of happened yesterday and everything with the Mikal Bridges trade. And believe it or not, Phoenix Suns fans, the Phoenix Suns actually have a second-round pick, at least for right now they do. And we're going to dive into that as well, because maybe that pick may be on the move. And we are going to be joined by multiple guests throughout the show. They are going to help me talk. They're going to help me cover all of this because I am exhausted from yesterday. We are going to be joined by a good friend of the channel, Super Mario Hoops, John from the Suns Jam Session podcast, Ben Parker, who joined us yesterday, said he might be able to join, Suns Worldwide, and lots of other guests. So I am really excited, you guys. Happy day 2 of the 2024 NBA draft. And with that being said, y'all, I'm going to bring on friend of the channel. It has been so long since I have had him on the show. We're going to bring on Super Mario Hoops. Super Mario, long time no see, my friend. How you doing?
I know it's been a minute, but yeah, I'm always glad to be on the show, you know, talking basketball, talking Suns, talking Bulls, whatever it may be. So yeah,
I'm glad you said that, because you and I were DMing each other, and I'm like, man, I got to get you on the show soon. We got to talk Bulls. And kind of while we're waiting for the draft to start, and maybe in between picks, we will definitely have a very long Bulls discussion, because I have some thoughts. My thoughts have changed on the Bulls, but I'm also there's still like a lot of question marks surrounding your Chicago Bulls, and but we definitely have lots to talk about. So Super Mario, real quick, do you just want to tell the people like how long you've been a basketball fan? Do you want to tell them what you do on your YouTube channel, just in case the people don't know? Because I'm sure a lot of people do know you because you've been on this channel a lot, but if you want to reintroduce yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I've been a basketball fan since 1984 when the Bulls selected Michael Jordan. Even though I wasn't even born then, I just, you know, had that natural instinct. But yeah, and I mean, I'm a Bulls fan. If you want to find me, Super Mario Hoops 24 on YouTube. You know, I got Instagram, Twitter. I'm on basically everything you can think of. So shouldn't be that hard to find me. But yeah, and I like talking hoops, like my guy Suns Geek right here. So yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being here, man. And also, we got my guy Casey in the background doing some producing, helping us out here. It really does help out the channel, and I appreciate both of you guys. And I also appreciate Jay from the He's on Fire podcast, who unfortunately will not be able to join, but we'll have to try to get him on the channel soon. He was one of the people I sent out an invite to. He says, keep up the W Content Geek. We'll link up soon. Appreciate that, man. Thank you to everybody that's in here. We got Michael, who is in here. Jason Ham, I appreciate you. Daniel, King J Rock, Harlem Vega. Thank you to everybody that is in here. So Super Mario, man, like I said, this is kind of more of a chill show. The draft is going to start soon, but let's be real. It'll probably take like 5 or 10 minutes for the actual pick to get in.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess I'll kind of, well, you know what? We're actually going to start with this. First off, do you have like a drink or something? Like, or do you have like any snacks throughout this thing? We're probably going to be live for like 3 hours. So I have to ask that first.
I got 1 water bottle, 2 water bottles. And right now, that's it.
I love it. That's
and
all you need.
This weird Hershey bar.
There you go. That's a snack. I'm glad you said that.
I probably won't eat it. I don't know how long it's been sitting.
Because I got a Prime because I need to stay hydrated and I need my electrolytes in me. I got this water. I got my little Suns cup here full of ice water because I was so exhausted when I woke up this morning. And then I got my little apple slices. So I'm ready to go, man. I'm pumped up. I had a decent amount of sleep last night, but I'm ready to go, ready to talk about the 2024 NBA draft. So While we're waiting, I guess we can talk some Bulls for right now, and we'll specifically just focus in on the pick that you guys got. What were your thoughts going into the draft about the Bulls? Were you happy with the pick? Like, just talk to us about the Chicago Bulls, because I believe you guys drafted Matas Buzelis. Is that how you say that name?
Yes, and that is how you say it.
Butchered that name, but that's probably how you
Mm,
Matas Buzelis.
yes.
So what are you thinking, man? Can you give us a little insight about him? Like, well, how are Bulls feeling about it? How are you feeling about it, man?
So, I mean, coming into the draft, I mean, I think our biggest need was, I mean, we know we traded for Josh Giddey like a week before, and that's a whole other thing. But like with him, with Lonzo coming back, with Kobe White already there, and Io like played a little better second half of the year. It's like we were kind of set, I guess, in the backcourt, at least for right now, and that doesn't even include Zach LaVine, who will more than likely be traded. And it's like DeMar, you have Patrick Williams. So you just have like the thing you're missing maybe is like the front court, specifically the 4 and the 5 area, and that's why I think the biggest target first for me was like Donovan Clinton, just because like he was someone who could maybe like protect the basket pretty well. I know he's more of a traditional center, and doesn't really space the floor, but that's someone I was looking at. But once I heard like Portland basically was in love with him, uh, I knew that probably wasn't gonna happen, so, at that point, like, Matas Buzelis, I mean, this is a guy who's projected to go top 5. He's a guy who's from Illinois, grew up a Bulls fan too, and, luckily, honestly, it's, I said for once, Arturas Karnisovas is, as we know, makes some rash decisions. And for once, I think it paid off because the Lithuanian connection with him and Matas Buzelis actually, I think, worked in our favor because I think we got one of the better players in this draft class. If you look at him, it's really funny because if you remember the Vucevic trade, part of the trade that we gave up to give Vucevic was the pick that became Franz Wagner. And when I
Yeah,
look
I remember that.
and when I look at Matas Buzelis, I think I see a lot of Franz Wagner in him, but he's a little bit of a better athlete and he's a much better defender as well. He's also even taller.
Versatile.
Yeah, more versatile too. So I'm
Mhm.
looking at the team right now, and I mean, obviously you got Josh Giddey, depending on what you want to do with him. I mean, Kobe White was the best thing we had going for us last year. So more than likely you're gonna want to maybe start those guys, which I guess leaves a question for Lonzo Ball. But then when I'm looking at Buzelis, I think he could slide right into that 4 spot, maybe the 3, but possibly even the 4 spot if we brought back DeRozan. And, that's good because I feel like I have a little bit more confidence in him developing into something bigger. He seems like a guy who is going to continue to work on his game. I don't know if you remember, but like before the draft, he even said he called out Zachary Rissiger, who went number 1. And basically, he basically said, he's like, I want to 1v1 him, but his agent won't let me do that because he knows like what will happen basically. And he's trying to like protect him in a sense. So I feel like it's been forever since we had a guy like that on the Bulls. Like maybe you could say Patrick Beverly, but like, yeah, but he was like, we knew he was a role player. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
a guy that maybe has star potential with that mindset. Like maybe the last time you saw something like that was like and really wasn't like an offensive threat, but like a Joakim Noah, you know? And it's been so long since we have players like that, especially a player from Chicago that thinks like that. And I think he's just going to put in the work. So I was actually very pleased with the draft pick. I know, like I said, I wanted Donovan Clingan maybe first, but if we weren't going to get him, I'm glad we actually got Buzelis. And I was a little shocked, like we actually did pick him because like I've already seen us do so much wrong. So
Yeah.
but yeah.
No, I appreciate that insight, man. So I'm looking over here at the ESPN screen, and the draft doesn't even start for another 10 minutes. So if you want, we can keep going with this Bulls conversation. But what I will say is, I wasn't really scouting or doing my draft homework with a lot of the lottery picks because obviously I was like, there's no way a lot of those guys fall to us, which we pretty
Mhm,
much saw for the most part. Like I was surprised Dalton Connect fell to 17. We can talk about that later to the Lakers.
mhm.
But But I guess what I'm trying to say is everything I did see and read and, watching a little bit of highlights here and there about Buzelis, I really, really like. And just seeing the draft reactions from certain content creators that I follow, they seem really high on this pick. And I did see that clip of him reacting, saying, like, I want to be here because he's from Chicago, right? Like, if I got that correct.
Yeah, I think technically from, I don't know what the other city is from, but he wasn't. He's from Hinsdale, but like he
Yeah,
was born in Chicago
exactly.
and still grew up pretty local. So yeah.
Yeah, so he's a local kid, wanted to be in Chicago. You see that reaction. It's on the Bulls social media page and all that. That's what I want to see from any first round pick, whether they're a hometown kid or not. And that's really exciting stuff. Now, I sort of talked about this a little bit in yesterday's show, but I talked about it in a previous live show. And I don't know if you happen to be watching, but a lot of people may not know this. I'm sure Bulls fans do, but a lot of, casual fans, if you will, may not know it. He's your guys's VP, right? However you pronounce his name.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
can't pronounce it. He's your vice president. Yeah.
This, yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Mm.
He did a press conference about a month ago. And I was like, you know what? I'm curious about that. I want to watch it. I want to see what this guy is saying. Because as you know, for a couple of years, he was pretty stubborn. He was like, no, we're not going to make any changes. He's like, we're going to keep running this back and all that. At least that's the vibe that I got from him saying. But I actually sat down and watched that press conference, and he legit said multiple times, like, I need to be better. We need to make better moves. Now, he didn't necessarily say like rebuild or anything or strong retool, but it kind of seems that's the direction it's leaning. Maybe I'm wrong. You know a lot more about it than me, but is that sort of the vibe? Is that sort of the feeling right now with Chicago Bulls fans, maybe the state of the Chicago Bulls? What do you think, man? Do you think the Bulls are going to kind of go in this youth direction? Like, talk to us, man. What do you think?
My response would be, I'll believe it when I see it.
Exactly.
Because like, see, the first thing is, I think trading Alex Caruso, maybe some would think indicates that, but like he's also a player that was so crucial to our success and he had the most value. And it seems like you could have got a lot more back than Josh Giddey. Obviously you're getting younger in that sense, but like Alex Caruso being gone for Josh Giddey, if you bring back the same team next year, like no one's going to believe anything that Arturas Karnisovas was saying is accurate. So like I'm not going to believe it till I see Vucevic is traded or till I see Levine is traded or till they say DeRozan, you can walk. And as much as I mean, you know me, like I've pretty much always praised DeRozan ever since he's been with the Bulls. And I appreciate everything he's done for us over the past few years, especially his first year. Like basically it was top 4 in MVP majority of the year. But I think, I wouldn't blame him. And honestly, I would encourage him to leave just because one, he's not going to compete for a championship here. And two, it just kind of hurts us as well because we can't take a step forward. So what I would say is that he has the opportunity to leave this summer. It seems like he really likes being in Chicago. But I feel like maybe it's time for them to move on. And then as for Levine and Vucevic, I know there was rumor like a few hours ago that said the Bulls are eyeing the trade Vucevic. I'll believe it when I see it. Again, like it's just one of those things because, like you said, we've been so stubborn for so long. Like prior to that Caruso trade, we hadn't made a trade in like 2.5 years, like for an actual player other like than a draft pick or something like that. Like we were the only team that had gone that long. Like you think about it, like I think there was a stat when Donovan Mitchell got traded to the Cavs. Every team had made a trade prior to that since the Bulls for a player. And the Bulls' last trade was more than a year before Donovan Mitchell was a Cavalier. So that was like double the time of any other team making a move. That should just tell you like how much they were bought into this continuity factor. And yeah, so I mean, as much as I think it's a sign that we're moving like key players like Caruso who have been here since I guess we started making a little bit of that jump to the 6th seed that one season, and we were first most of it. I'll believe it when more of the like players that are getting the ball in their hands a lot more of the time are gone, because then that's going to open up more opportunities for Zealous or Kobe
Yep.
White or Josh Giddey or Lonzo,
Ayo Dosunmu.
Io DeSumo, Patrick
Mhm.
Williams.
Yep. if some of those guys are still on the roster. I don't think Kobe White's going anywhere, but no, I'm 100% with you, man. You'll believe it when you see it. I feel like if we talk to other Bulls fans, they would probably say the same thing. Now, look, when I was talking about the Bulls in my recent live show, because you know me, I keep it pretty optimistic here. Even though I've been a sort of a critic of the Bulls, I said in their defense, and I think we've talked about this before, in their defense, if they were at least somewhat healthy, maybe we'd be having a different conversation. And I'm not just pointing that all on Lonzo. That's not fair to him. But like there's been other injuries to that team and everything. Maybe if they're and I hate to sound like that guy, like, oh, if this team was healthy, they'd be a lot better. But in the Bulls case, it is really true. Maybe we'd be having a different conversation. Maybe the Bulls would be in a much better spot if they were at least somewhat healthy. So I appreciate that insight and feedback and analysis, man. I'm glad we had this conversation. What do you, go ahead. Yeah.
The only thing I wanted to add though is that that's what really confused me the most about trading for Giddey is that you waited so long on Lonzo to come back. Now he's going to be back at the start of next season, and you trade for another guy who's going to basically play a spot. That's what's confusing.
I know. And that's, again, that's where this team has so many question marks around it because Kobe White can play point guard too, you know, Ayo and all them. It's like, what are you doing, Chicago Bulls? Are you just trying to get long, lengthy point guards and everything? And I get it maybe from a standpoint like Lonzo might take a few games to be 100%, if you will, and that's where you insert Josh Giddey. But it's like, I just want to see what your team does in free agency, if there'll be any trades, what happens with DeMar DeRozan. Has there been much talk on Nikola Vucevic? Like, what's going on with him? I don't know, man.
Yeah,
I guess it really happens, or it really matter. What? Sorry, let me fix my words there. I guess it really all is going to have to wait and see until we figure out what's going on with Levine and DeRozan. Then they'll probably focus on Vucevic.
Yeah, I think this offseason there's going to be a lot more like sign and trades or superstar trades, or I guess all-star trades in general. Because I mean, I was thinking of Levine in that category. I wouldn't really say he's a superstar, but all-star caliber players, you know?
Yeah, absolutely, man. So again, we can keep talking about the Bulls later and throughout the show. The draft's about to start in 2 minutes. So I'm going to give our audience here just a quick little rundown of what's going on. We got about 84 people in here if you guys are watching along live. First off, I appreciate everybody that is in here, everybody who's watching live on the live chat. So what we're going to do, y'all, is just as the draft's going on, you know, we'll let you know who's picking and what's going on with that. But if there's any trades, if there's any rumors going on, we will keep you guys updated. We're going to react to it all. But we'll also talk about everything that happened yesterday. I have the draft board pulled up. You know, we could talk about the Mikal Bridges trade and a lot of other. There's literally been 2 trades in the last like 2 hours. We can talk about all that. But I do want to kind of update the audience here just in case you guys don't know about what is going on with the Phoenix Suns. And I do want to pull this up here. I don't think there's been any developments yet, but earlier today, at least it was earlier for me anyways, Gerald Bourguet from PHNX, they do great work over there. I was on their show one time. It was an absolute blast. Gerald is definitely plugged in. He had a tweet, and I'm trying to find it real quick because there's been lots of activity. Yeah, here we go. So let me just share this real quick. He had a tweet, or it wasn't really his tweet. It was just in his writing on gophnx.com. that the Suns are a team. I don't know if you guys can see the screen, but let me just fix this real quick. Sorry, guys. That looks better. Let's lower this too. My bad, you guys. Yeah, so the Suns are a team to monitor as a trade up candidate in the second round per Gerald Bourguet of PHNX. Phoenix could package pick number 56. So yes, you guys, at the time of this recording, we have pick 56. Plus another future second, which we got from Denver. I'm sure you saw that trade go down yesterday, Super Mario, to secure a prospect who could contribute immediately. Now, since this was put out, nothing has come of it yet. But again, the draft is literally starting right now, so we'll have to see what happens with this. And also, we can talk about this way later, and I will take the L here Eric Gordon declined his player option. He is not coming back. Super Mario, I know you and I had a conversation about that a long time ago. That was a miserable, well, not really a miserable fail, but it did not work. It did not work out the way Suns fans thought. But we'll talk about Eric Gordon later. But this is an interesting development here, that this potential trade here could happen, but we're going to have to wait and see. You know, even though the second round of the draft is a little faster, these things take time. We'll see what happens. Either way, the Suns currently have pick number 56. Real quick, Super Mario, you know, again, the draft's going to be starting. Toronto's making the first pick in the first round. They got about 3 minutes and 45 seconds. Did you like what the Phoenix Suns did on draft day? Did you like the Ryan Dunn pick? Let me know, man. Like, what are your thoughts on what the Suns did on draft day, man? Because we talked in length about it yesterday.
I think I can best showcase it through this. I don't know if you want to share my screen here real quick.
I'll share your screen, yeah.
This is a tweet I put out a week ago, and it was about Ryan Dunn being classified as the best wing defender, evaluated in a long time by Sam Vecenie. And I said, Vecenie. And I said, if he's able to build a consistent jumper in the league, he will be a superstar, no doubt about it. And I said that, remember, a week ago. So just, I guess, like, my thoughts on that is he's someone who's got, like, insane athleticism. He's an insane defender. And I think that's a quality player that the Suns need right now because they need to fill out, like, their depth. And it won't be like a first year, second year type of, like, breakout or anything like that. But I think years from now, he could be. So when I'm looking at this pick, this is a pick that, like, let's say when the Suns start progressing into their next era, and maybe it's like, you know, you still have Devin Booker, probably maybe Kevin Durant, like, if 5 years from now, if he's retired or whatever it may be or something like that, this is a guy you want to hang on to, I think. And yeah, I mean, the thing you said too about, like, Eric Gordon, yeah, I mean, 11 years too late, I guess, is from when he wanted to originally. I did see he was kind of cooking in the Bahamas, though, like in the clutch the other day. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I just don't think he has the same value for what he's good at really in the NBA anymore, which seems crazy to say. But, like, I feel like he's a quality six man at this point. That's kind of what he's developed into the last, like, 7-8 years. But even at this point, I think that's a little too much to ask out of him for a good team. So he's kind of in the realm of players like, who would be a good example? Like, I think I'm almost like a Bojan Bogdanovic right now, like, who just got traded to the Nets for Mikal Bridges. I think he's kind of like in that same category of, like, you're in a little bit of the unknown.
Now, I talked about this because John Gambadoro and I think Kelly, somebody from The Athletic, I forget his last name, were the first people on this, because the guy from The Athletic talked to Eric Gordon. Eric Gordon was like, I'm 50-50 if I want to return to Phoenix or not. Then John Gambadoro was like, hey, I don't think he's going to come back. But anyways, and I kind of came to the defense of Eric Gordon. I said there were times where he was very serviceable and he was consistent at times, but when he was inconsistent, it really showed. You know what I mean? There were games he'd go like 0 for 7, 0 for 6, play like 30 minutes too. And we all know he's not like a super great defender and everything.
Right.
And a lot of Suns fans were like, Eric Gordon complained a lot, which he kind of did, but I kind of came to his defense. I was like, I didn't mind his honesty. He was brutally honest about how he felt about the team, what the team should be doing, even if it might have come off as complaining. But I wish Eric Gordon the best. And again, we can talk about this a little bit later. I do want to bring on our next guest here from the Suns Planet podcast, friend of the channel, FallenFounder. How are you doing, good sir? Welcome to the show.
Oh, what's up, Geek? No, I'm doing great. Yeah, I'm working away right now, as I'm sure all of us are, while also keeping an eye on the draft. But no, you guys were talking a little bit about Dunn. I'll be honest, when I first saw that was the pick, I was like, Really? And then when I start, because honestly, I don't watch a lot of college basketball, but even still, I probably would not remember a lockdown defender when watching college basketball.
Exactly.
Either. And
Yep.
so that's kind of what I was thinking. That he's maybe a bigger version. He's a bigger version than a Josh Okogie, he's a better rebounder than Josh Okogie. And potentially, I mean, I think if Okogie stays and we bring in like a Chris Dunn, we could have an amazingly high-powered starting lineup and an amazingly high-powered backup defense, potentially on how it all rolls out. I mean, if you have the Dunn boys and a Josh Okogie and a Royce O'Neal, as your four guys off the bench, and then throw in random center. Obviously, it's never going to be a platoon swap, so there's always going to be firepower out there. But we could try and run up the score and then just grind down the opposition as they try and counter. So I kind of got excited the more I looked at it, and I think athleticism like Dunn has and those kind of intangibles of a high motor are not really teachable, but fixing a shot is teachable. So the more I kind of thought about it, the more I thought, I'm excited. That's a great pick, especially that late in the first round. Plus, we got additional second round picks, which makes today actually interesting. Usually, we just all kind of fall asleep during the second round.
Yeah, exactly. I totally agree with everything you just said, man. I'm glad that you're excited about this pick as I am, and I think Suns fans should be pretty excited too. So just so you guys know, pick 31 is in. Jonathan Mogbo has been selected. He's from San Francisco. I believe me and Ben talked about him a little bit yesterday, and Ben Parker might be joining us later. The Utah Jazz are on the clock, and as we were keeping our fans and audience updated earlier, the Phoenix Suns do have the 56th pick. We're gonna have to see what happens with that, and we're gonna have some other guests be joining us real soon. So if you guys are watching, we're 29 minutes in. Make sure to Hulk smash that like button, y'all. Share the show. We are joined by Super Mario Hoops, who's a friend of the channel. FallenFounder. It's my guy, Super Mario Hoops. Great guy, great content creator. And I'm glad to have both of you guys here. However, we're going to have a fourth guest be joining us right now. He is another friend of the channel, and I'm sure a lot of you guys know who he is. He is the host of the Suns Jam Session podcast. And they've had me on their channel many, many times, and I've only had them on my channel just a couple times. So what am I doing? So let's bring on John from the Suns Jam Session podcast. How you doing, good sir?
Dude, I haven't spoken with you in way too long, Suns Geek. How are you doing, man?
Fantastic, my brother. It's draft day. Free agency's 3 days later. I'm hyped, man. I'm ready to go. Let's do this.
Well, I'm just here to say that I disagree with everything that Jake said. He's clearly wrong. This guy can't shoot. No, I'm just kidding. I agree with Jake. Like Ryan Dunn, I think is a great pick. I think that there's still a couple guys on the board who personally I would have liked. Isaiah Collier, who went a pick later to the Utah Jazz. Tyler Kolek, who's still out there, and we're kind of watching
my
right
boy
now.
Right there.
Yeah, yep. I think that he could really help. But Ryan Dunn definitely is a James Jones guy, right? James Jones likes to draft guys with one specific elite skill, right? Cam Johnson was an elite three-point shooter. Jalen Smith was an elite guy to sit on the bench. And now you have Ryan Dunn, who is an elite defender. The shot, yeah, that's got everyone concerned, but you take a look at it. He took less than 100 free throws in college, less than 50 three-pointers, I believe, in college. So I know that the percentages don't look great, but it's not a big sample size of volume. So I'm hopeful. I'm a Suns fan. I have to talk myself into being hopeful right now.
No, I'm right there with you, man. I'm not personally. I understand why some Suns fans and people who cover this team might be concerned with the shot because, it might be a Josh Okogie situation, you know what I mean, where you leave them wide open, all that stuff. But like, in my personal opinion, we don't really need that right now. We can worry about the jump shot later. We need a dog. We need somebody that is going to fight and be scrappy on defense. Not saying Josh Okogie didn't do that, but we need another guy. And Jake, you mentioned it earlier, man. Maybe a Chris Dunn also joins this team. I made a video talking about that. I believe it was reported and everything that they might seek him out in free agency. Maybe we just get a bunch of defensive dogs on this team next year to go along with our big three, man. Jake or Super Mario, you got any thoughts on any of that we just talked about? or on the draft that's going on right now? Like, what are you guys thinking?
I mean, yeah, I mean, I feel like both of you guys kind of hit it on the nail. I feel like he's maybe was a weird prospect to get then. I know, like you said, Isaiah Collier would have been a good choice too. But like I said, I feel like if he develops a consistent shot, I feel like he has a lot of the other tools to put together that he could be a guy that you want to keep long term. And so that's kind of like what I was saying. Like, I know it's easy when, obviously you guys are in win now mode with Devin Booker and Kevin Durant. And so
and Bradley Beal
and Bradley Beal. Yeah, we'll throw Bradley Beal in there. But obviously you want to do what you can to, I guess, maximize that window. But if there's any way possible you could kind of hold on to maybe some of these guys, and specifically like him, I feel like he's the guy that could actually like pan out. I've been wrong before though, because I thought Josh Jackson would be the next Kawhi. So
that's okay, because I was wrong about Eric Gordon. You know what I mean? Jake, that's where I'll ask you, and I don't know if we did talk about it. My brain is already going to mush, and we've only been live for like 30 minutes. Did you give your thoughts on the Eric Gordon situation?
Not yet, because on Suns Planet we were still, I guess, kind of waiting for the final news. I guess we mentioned it briefly that he was likely not going to stick around. It was a bit of a surprise. I think that at this point in his career, I kind of figured he was picking Phoenix on a minimum contract with a player option because he was just like enjoying the housing market in the greater Phoenix area, and just thought, this is where I want to enjoy my retirement years at some point. So it was kind of interesting. Something must just not have really clicked for him. Personally, I think what what they were asking him to do, because you would think with a brand new coach coming in, it might tweak some things, and he'd say, okay, hey, a little pay increase and maybe a different role. Let's see it. But
exactly.
He just, wasn't enjoying it, and that's okay. But going back to Dunn real quick, my last point on that is, the concerns about his shot are real, but what we keep coming back to is, with Grayson Allen, Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal, do you want somebody taking a shot away from those guys? And that's
those are all first team guys though, right? Like what's going to drive us crazy is when Dunn's out there playing and he's with the second team unit and he's going to get a wide open three because of the gravity of somebody else.
Right.
And he misses that wide open three. And we're like, fuck, see, told you he couldn't shoot. Like, we need a guy who can shoot, because that's what happened with Okogie. Because with Okogie, when he was at the second team unit, now when he was at the first team unit, it was ungodly. Like, we couldn't get by because with him on the first team unit for that reason. But when he went to the second team unit, he wasn't hitting any shots. Right? God, it's nice that he's got the hustle, man. It's nice that he defends. But God, he can't stay on the court because he can't hit a shot. And there's going to be growing pains with Dunn. And that's what I just think that we should be realistic about. We as fans, us as guys who sit around and do podcasts, especially us who do a post-game podcast, we're going to have many a time where it's going to be done, and he bricked a shot. It's like we just have to prepare ourselves for that.
But
sorry, I had to change hats real quick.
I like it.
But if you guys think about it, how many minutes did how many minutes did we not have at least two of the big three on the court? And so it was rare, and you always noticed it as soon as the big three were out. That oh my God, how are we going to hit shots now? So I think as long as you continue to always have two of the big three out there, that Dunn's going to miss some threes really badly, just like we counted on Royce O'Neal, and he was super streaky on hitting down some of those shots. But I think as long as two guys at least are kind of pulling the defense away, it's going to give Dunn chances to attack the basket, kind of like we saw with Josh Okogie. He would get aggressive and go after it, and God dang it, did we love seeing that much more than we'd clench our butts a little bit every time he shot a corner three.
Real quick, you guys.
Filipowski.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Kyle Filipowski, I hope I pronounced that right, drafted the Utah Jazz, but the Milwaukee Bucks are selecting Tyler Smith, who I know some Suns fans were pretty high on, and they wanted him. So I'm just giving everybody update on the draft.
Very Utah guy. Looks like he should be playing in Utah. Him, Walker Kessler, they won't get booed.
Laurie Markkinen. Yeah.
Laurie Markkinen.
They got a thing for 7 foot tall white guys that can shoot.
I'm glad you said that, Jake, because from the research that I've done about him, now I'm far from a draft expert, so take this with a grain of salt, but I believe he's about 6'9", only 19 years old. Tyler Smith is big upside, perimeter skills, can shoot, but the cons are defense. You know what I mean? I believe he's got like a 7'1" wingspan as well. Good mover and can really, put the ball in the basket and everything, but yeah, I don't know. I think him falling. I don't really know if I want to say that. I mean, he did fall, but like I saw a lot of mock drafts where he was going like in the late 20s, which is kind of why I think some Suns fans were like, maybe we could get him at 22. But I am happy with the Ryan Dunn pick, and I just hope that he really is this lockdown defender that I keep hyping him up to be. You know what I mean?
But worst case scenario, Brandon, we traded back and got extra assets too.
Exactly.
That's what's so huge. If we had taken him at 22, we'd be having this conversation and be like, okay, there's a couple other prospects out there that we had our eyes on. We hope it works out, everything that we're saying. But the fact that we also got 56 today, and that's why we're sitting around here talking and watching the draft, because I wouldn't be watching. I'd have the draft on, but it'd be going off in but I give a shit now. But we also got the 2026 second round pick from Denver, as well as their 2031 second round pick. Yep. So James Jones got a guy who was on everybody's draft boards. I had him as I had 1A, 1B was Yves Missi, Tyler Kolek, and then my 3 was Ryan Dunn. We got him. And then we also get 56 today and 2 extra picks. So you take those 2 picks, you attach them to Yusuf Nurkic, and you send him out of town, and everybody's happy. But there's now options, and that's all you want is some options. So he's recouping some of that draft capital. When's the last time James Jones traded for picks?
Exactly. And that's what I talked about a lot yesterday. Sorry, I'm finishing chewing my apple here.
Fine.
But no, I was hyped when I saw that. Because not only did we draft somebody so Suns fans can quit bitching that we don't have any youth, on this team, but now we actually have future draft picks, and we have a G League team that we can send them to if we need to. And we have guys that we can develop and everything. Like, that is what is exciting about the move that James Jones did, and I absolutely love it. Super Mario, how you feeling, man? Do you know much about Tyler Smith or Kyle Filipkowski? Any thoughts on, the Suns' future second round picks? Like, what are you thinking, man?
I mean, I did. Well, I guess first of all, like with Kyle Filipkowski, I think they were just showing on there the Jazz and picking him, Isaiah Collier, and Cody Williams. I feel like they've kind of had like an underrated draft.
Hell yeah.
Because I mean, they got size.
Cody Williams is awesome, by the way.
Yeah. 3 guys who could also Collier maybe not all so much, but at least capable of shooting the ball. I know Cody Williams shot well in college, but I think that's I guess one thing. And then with the 56 pick for Phoenix, I'm not sure who they would get, but I also saw something because right now they might be thinking about even moving that up a little bit.
Yeah.
So
real quick, you guys, you're all 3, and look, let me just start this off by saying I know that this is not NBA 2K, and I say that a lot on this channel, but I sort of was in that mindset. I was anticipating a lot of picks getting traded, and we've seen a little activity with picks getting traded, like what Minnesota did, for example. I think a couple second round picks got traded 2 hours ago. Were any of you guys anticipating a lot of picks being traded, or do you think it's smart that teams were playing it safe and selecting these guys who I personally believe down the road could be real contributors to all the teams they've been drafted to? And I don't really know. Let's start with John. What do you think, John?
I think that we're seeing kind of the standard amount of movement. This wasn't a talent-heavy draft, so there's guys that specific organizations have keyed in on that meet. It's like the 2020 draft, right? 2020, because of COVID and there was no NCAA tournament, there was no combine, you kind of keyed in on a few guys and you just kind of rolled through it, right? Whereas this one, it's kind of in the same vein, I feel, is you have your top 5 guys And you're not going to see a lot of movement around trading draft picks unless you're trying to give yourself, like the Knicks. The Knicks just traded a ton of draft picks for our Mikal Bridges, and then they garnered some of that draft capital back by making some moves. The Suns did the same thing, right? They needed some more draft capital. So what did they do? They traded back a little bit, got some more draft capital. But I think that a lot of these guys or general managers are just looking at what they have and saying, you know what, there's a couple guys out there that we kind of have our eyes on. And we have to also understand that this is the draft aura, right? We're all sitting here, it's like, dude, Kyle Filipowski, man, this guy's going to be great. He's a great prospect. We don't know. The odds
Hold on,
are
John.
saying no.
John, I'm sorry to interrupt. Real quick. Portland made a trade, and Tyler Kolek is now being drafted by the New York Knicks. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Damn, dude, the Knicks are killing it this
Holy
offseason.
cow. Damn it, dude.
I got to go buy
So
Knicks
the Knicks
shit.
got Mikal Bridges, a whole bunch of picks, even though they
OG
traded a bunch of future
Anunoby.
picks. OG Anunoby and Tyler freaking Kolek. So here's what happened when you were talking, and I appreciate your insight, John. But so Jake Fisher reported that, and I got this pulled up, Portland is trading number 34 to the New York Knicks for 3 second-round picks. And then with that pick, New York is drafting Tyler Kolek. I'm going to share my screen so you guys can see this. What the hell? My boy Tyler Kolek, who is number 1 on my board, take that with a grain of salt, by the way, is drafted by the New York Knicks. What the hell? Damn it. That sucks. I'm sorry, y'all. I really like Tyler Kolek. Damn it.
Knicks
Super
are doing
Mario,
all this
Jake.
just to compete with the Bulls. That's crazy.
Yeah, the potentially retooling, rebuilding Bulls. Jake or
All
Super
this
Mario,
is-
you got any thoughts on what just happened just now? Portland trading Portland trading the number 34 pick to New York for 3 second rounders, and then New York just having an A+ offseason so far and drafting Tyler freaking Kolek. Oh my God. What do y'all think, man?
Was Portland going to be like the Washington Wizards of the Western Conference this year? Just, whatever they can do to kind of start speeding up. Well, I guess, Portland's already kind of tanked a little bit, but like still in that kind of youth movement of acquiring assets. Who knows how long Ayton and Robert Williams are going to remain in Portland.
And Donovan Clingan too. Yeah, I know.
Sending a pick out to get 3 more second-round picks makes sense. New York, it's just fascinating to me. They had a fantastic run that I think a lot of people didn't see coming. Or at least I certainly didn't buy into the Jalen Brunson Knicks. But now that they're kind of adding a lot of the Nova guys, a lot of defense, it's funny that they still, was it a year or two ago that they were ranked to have like the worst owner in the association, but also the highest like ticket prices. And I was like always amazed that people kept showing up to Knicks games because they just weren't a very good team. The owner was a jerk and he was just like ripping people off. And so I don't know, maybe somebody finally got in their ear and was like, hey, if you put a good product on the floor, we can really justify these higher prices. So Madison Square Garden looking to be competitive. And I think that they were talking about it a little bit last night during the first round coverage that the Knicks, are they for probably in the top 3 coming out of the East next year? Are we going to put that in on at least on paper right now?
I'd say so.
Yeah, at least on paper if they can stay healthy.
Out, but I think with them, Boston, those are probably honestly like top 2 because we don't even know like really what Milwaukee's fully going to look like.
Right.
True.
Yeah, and same thing with Philly. Like you just don't know. Yeah. Are they adding Paul George? Are they not adding Paul George?
Well, Joel
Evan
Embiid
Siddery, hey, former bright side of the sun.
I'm trying to get this pulled up, but my computer's being slow. But Tyler. Whoa, what is going on here? I'm sorry.
Where did I go? Where did you go?
I know, right? I'm
John
sorry.
Voita.
Yeah, Tyler Kolek off the board, guys. And I'm sure my audience is sick of me talking about this. I have talked about Tyler Kolek so much on this channel. This is a guy that is going to go into New York, and Knicks fans are going to love him from day one because this guy wants to compete. He wants to be a day one type player. He's going to help the Knicks, who are definitely going to contend, at least on paper, they're going to contend. And they're going to love him. This guy can play make. He's crafty. He can score. He's just learning. He's like 23 years old, too. He got better every year at college and everything. Seems pretty mature for his age as well. I really like Tyler Kolek. Sucks he's off the board, man. And as it's written here, New York now has another ball handler who can play reserve minutes behind Jalen Brunson.
And his
I love
comp
it.
by Kevin O'Connor of The Ringer was Jalen Brunson.
Yeah.
So
And
he's
Goran Dragic.
and Goran
Former
Dragic.
Phoenix
Yeah.
Suns.
So he's somebody
Mhm.
who knows how to touch the paint. He's got a lot of Steve Nash to his game, and the fact that he likes to
Mhm.
drive baseline to look to distribute. He lefty, great shooter.
Yep.
What I loved about him was the pace in which he played. I
Exactly.
like somebody who can speed it up, slow it down, control the game, and that's what you need from a point guard, is to understand cerebrally how to attack opposing defenses. And if you have them on their heels, attack. If they're planted in, okay, well, let's navigate a high ball screen and try to take advantage of whether the opposing defense is playing drop coverage or if they're blitzing, and knowing what to do in those situations. And you take a look at how he evolved, starting at George Mason, 3 years at Marquette, and how he led the entire country in assists, 7.7 assists last season with the Marquette Golden Eagles. So definitely a great prospect. I wonder why he fell all the way to 34,
I
but
know.
good on the Knicks for pulling the trigger, and again, just killing it this offseason, man. And the great thing about the Knicks is this is a team where I don't have a lot of hate for the Knicks, so I can find myself
Yeah.
liking them next year, because I always like to have an Eastern Conference team that I follow, and maybe it's the Knicks next year. It was Brooklyn last year, and they vastly disappointed. I'm just going to follow Mikal Bridges wherever he goes. Essentially, is what I'm saying.
Super Mario, I don't know how you feel being a Chicago Bulls fan and everything, and you've been to a lot. Do you
he
live in
hates the
Chicago?
Knicks.
Like yeah, I know. Like you probably hate the Knicks too. It's like I don't
mean,
know.
I
But
think
I get
everyone
what you're
hates
saying
the
there, John.
Knicks. Yeah, I mean, what I will say is I feel like, you add him to the mix. I mean, he's a player who's, like you said, going to give it his all every single night. And then you pair him in the backcourt, like maybe off the bench with Miles McBride. That might be like the best backcourt, like off the bench potentially by the time we're talking like April next year. And yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see. I don't know. I don't. I feel like he's a player that I'm going to hate because he's too good.
Real quick, you guys, we have sort of another trade. Not sort of. We do have another trade going on. So according to Jake Fisher and Woj, it was 3 second-round picks, and then looks like the Knicks could be moving up to 38, but then Juan Nunez, according to Jake Fisher, at number 36, and cash to San Antonio for Jonathan Furphy, or Johnny Furphy, at number 35 for Indiana.
And that plays out
Nunez is
because
said to be a draft and stash candidate.
Furphy was just drafted by San Antonio, and they're showing right now Nunez is being drafted by Indy. So essentially, those picks are being swapped, it looks like.
Yeah.
With a little bit of money exchanged. So I got to ask Super Mario, I didn't realize you're a Bulls fan. What's it like being a Bulls fan? Because, well, so I'll tell you this, full disclosure, obviously a Phoenix Suns fan here for a long, long time. But in the 90s, I loved Michael Jordan. In fact, hanging up behind me in my office is Charles Barkley and Michael Jordan. He's the GOAT. I don't know if you guys can see up there, but I got to.
I'm gonna full screen you. Hold on.
I got Jordan Henderson. I'm building a whole like 3x3 thing of all my favorite players in different sports.
Hey, that's a cool Suns Jam Session hat, by the way.
yeah, I brought it to work today. There's you get a look. That's Phoenix, Arizona. Right up
hey,
there.
let's go.
But what I've noticed obviously about the Bulls, which is from afar, is you guys just don't have a lot of movement. It's one team that it's got to be frustrating because like when free agency happens, nothing happens for you guys. When the offseason happens, nothing like it's just this perpetual like, we'll make a decision eventually. What's that like? Does it drive you fucking nuts or nuck and futz?
It does. And it's like, honestly, it's just at a point where it's like I already know what to expect. I feel like I'm kind of like numb to it. And I mean, like, I guess like trading Caruso, like you would think, okay, well, maybe this is a sign that we're gonna move our big guns too. But like, if we only moved Caruso, it looks bad because it's like he wasn't the problem. And so that's even like what I was telling Suns Geek is like about the whole thing with this player movement for our team. It's like you hear rumors, Levine, like they're trying to trade him, but he's got no value, or they're eyeing a Vucevic trade, and like, but it just hasn't happened. Like oh, DeRozan, like maybe they'll let him walk, but he really loves the city. Like I'll believe it when I see it. Like I'm just at that point. Like when it actually happens, I'll be like, wow, we actually did it. But if it doesn't happen, I'm just gonna be like, I'm not even surprised. Like at this point, really. So I guess because it's been so consistent, like I think like I was just telling Suns Geek at the start, like when Donovan Mitchell got traded to the Cavs, every team had made a trade for a player since that point. Like and this was like I think at the end of the season, like last year, but we hadn't made a trade since like the summer of the previous year. Like it was just like so long, like only for a draft pick. So yeah, when I see the change, like I'm more than happy to completely rebuild, start over because I mean, if Lonzo Ball was healthy, maybe things would have went different, but obviously he hasn't been healthy in forever. And like our best players like Vucevic and DeRozan, they're not getting any younger. So like Levine's only getting more injured. So like you gotta react to it a little bit. So that's kind of like I guess where
I'll tell you this. It does get better, my friend. There was a span there, from about 2016 till before, like probably when we signed either Ricky Rubio or the next year when we actually traded for Chris Paul, where it was kind of the same thing with the Suns. There was a lot of ancillary moves that didn't make sense or just weren't the big names, right? It felt like the Suns were getting ready to make a move, and then they would just, do something quiet off to the side that didn't really help us, and most certainly didn't help us, and sometimes hurt us. So I'm hoping that things turn around for Chicago because the coolest thing about Chicago, don't know if anybody knows this, I'm sure you do. They're the only team in the entire NBA that's never changed its logo.
Yep.
Same logo since what? When did you guys come in the league? Like
66.
Yeah, 66. So same logo. So it's a cool history, obviously, with Jordan being there, with Derrick Rose being there, but they've just gone so stagnant. And I think about it because I have some really good friends who are from Chicago, right? And they're huge Bears fans. They don't care about the Bulls anymore because they just feel like the Bulls are just walking in quicksand. They text me randomly about their thoughts on the Suns, that are like 3 days old. They're like, "Hey, I heard that you guys drafted Dunn." I'll get that text in 2 days. But it'll get better, my friend. Just keep watching.
I'm
This
with you,
thing is like
John, on
life
the
advice.
Friends and old Suns news. I'm with you on that, John.
Yeah, and you just got to smile. I'm like, dude, I manage Bright Side of the Sun. Like when shit is happening, I'm writing a story about it. For like you, Suns Geek, if it has to do with the Phoenix Suns, you're gonna make a video about it. You're so on top of when something happens to make content about it. So it's kind of funny when people are 3 days later, it finally gets to them, and you're just like, oh, that's good for you. Good for you. Sorry, I'm a diehard.
Jake,
just tough
you
Oh,
I'm sorry, real quick, Super Mario.
Jake's
Jake, you look like
working.
you're actually, yeah, I'm like, you and John actually have like, real jobs and you actually are adults and you're working, like, what are you guys doing, man?
Well, I was gonna say,
answering emails.
yeah, you guys are doing John does the at post game pods, and Geek. Yeah, if there's something that happens in Suns Lane, you're making a video about it. I'm more like the John Oliver of Suns podcasters. I like the last week tonight. We only do Saturday mornings, and we try and give you like the full recap. So if you miss something throughout the week, you can just stop on by and get like a full recap.
Go subscribe.
Absolutely, yeah. Suns Planet. But no, I think it's going to be interesting here for the Suns because like we're starting to hit that point where all the people that were kind of snubbed in the first round, like I was calling him Flipadelphia, but Filipowski, I think he was actually in the green room, and I'm glad that they stopped doing that thing. That remember back in the NFL, like 10 years ago, they'd be like, this guy's expected to go in the first round, and he'd be just like sitting there having a meltdown as they're like, now we're starting the second round. He's in the green room like freaking out. I'm glad they don't like show that kind of stuff anymore. But apparently Filipowski was in the green room all day yesterday waiting for his number to be called. And so, but we're running out of people I actually have heard of at this point. With the exception of Bronny James, who I'll be honest,
never heard of the guy.
His dad can play. Yeah, his dad can play. Not so sure that Bronny can yet. So I'm kind of hoping the Suns have a trick up their sleeve. I know I've got a personal favorite that has been long talked about as a possible second rounder, and that's Armando Bacot from North Carolina, who helped lead them to the national championship game where they did lose a couple years back, but I thought he was a beast of a player. And hey, we could use a rim running, power guy in the center position. So I'm kind of hopeful.
Appreciate
for
that insight, man. Thank you.
Yeah. But let me ask you guys, because I don't know if you guys watch much college ball, but do you remember is it Rondé Hollis Jefferson?
Yeah.
And he played for Arizona. Is that kind of what we think is who we got with the Dunn deal? Because Jefferson was about 6'6", and primarily he could guard all 5 positions. Good rebounder for his size, and good defender. Is that kind of what we got with Dunn?
I hope his career is better than Hollis Jefferson, but I see the comparisons there. I see the vision.
But again, Jefferson was taken, I think, in like the 21st, 22nd pick, like back in 2015 or something. And so again, kind of what's been talked about is we traded back, and Jefferson's career might have been better now than it was coming out in 2015 as well, just because of the game's shift over the last 10 years. So it'll be very interesting.
I think the one difference I'll say is I feel like Dunn is a little more fluid than Rondé Hollis Jefferson. And what I mean by that is, like, I think, like, mechanically, if you remember, like, Rondé Hollis Jefferson's jump shot, like, it looked funky, like, really funky. Like, it would be hard to fix. Or even, like, when he sometimes, like, drove into the lane, it wasn't maybe, I guess, like, a super authentic move. Like, I feel like Ryan Dunn maybe has, like, a little bit of a better handle and maybe can easily, like, adjust his jump shot, like, with the right trainer, maybe more easily than like Rondé Hollis Jefferson. So I think that's maybe the upside and like the positive I would look at. But yeah.
Sorry guys, I'm signing a text over here. My bad.
You should be very disappointed in yourself. So.
While
answering emails.
Yeah. While we were talking briefly about the Bulls, did I see DeMar DeRozan now is expected to hit free agency?
We didn't really dive into that, did we, Super Mario? So we can change to that since we kind of need.
Yeah,
I mean, Phoenix will have a 4-person mid-range mafia.
Oh, gross!
Thank you, Jake.
No, thank you on DeRozan. Sorry, DeFrozen.
You wouldn't take him for a minimum contract?
He wouldn't.
I take a lot of people. It's not going to happen.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
I think who was it? It might have been. I don't even remember who it was, but they said there's like this weird interchanging like circle of like between DeRozan, Paul George, and Klay Thompson. They said one of them is going to be left without a team. Like I don't even know how they described it, but I don't know. I feel like maybe now DeRozan can be the one to leave. I was kind of hoping like I think it was Windhorst that might have said it, but basically, when he said that, I was thinking, oh, DeRozan's going to be the one stuck in Chicago. Paul George will probably go to like the Sixers, and Klay will probably like leave to Orlando or something like that. But it seems like over the past day, like it's more likely he could leave. I'm just hoping, and that's nothing against DeRozan because I like everything he's done here. I mean, I know you know already, Suns Geek, but like I was already at like the game where he hit that game winner against the Pacers. That was like one of the craziest experiences of me like going to a game. So definitely like some of the best highlights we've had in the last like decade as a Bulls fan, but I think his time is done.
Ryan Dunn.
And Chris Dunn, former Bull, right?
Oh, what'd you say? Oh yeah, Chris Dunn.
And Chris Dunn, yeah.
Don't remind me.
So real quick, you guys, if you want, there were some trades that happened earlier. We could dive into that. Because again, we're kind of just freestyling here. I do see Suns Worldwide in the backstage and everything. We're going to have to get him on in a couple minutes here. But obviously, we're all waiting and trying to see what's going to happen with the Phoenix Suns pick. If that does happen, I'll mute you all and I'll be like, oh my God, you guys, the Suns are doing something or they're trading this. But there were a couple picks earlier, and I'm trying to scroll down on my phone so I can get them all real quick. But is there anything you guys want to talk about? Like, while I'm trying to do this real quick, like, has there been any draft day surprises for you? Do you guys have any predictions, like in terms of the rest of this draft? Any free agency predictions you guys want to talk about?
I
even
predict
if it's not Suns related.
I'll predict that I know 2 more names on the rest of this draft board. I'm looking at like the best available, and like Trenton Flowers is someone we talked about on our podcast.
I remember you guys talking
You
about
know, he might potentially drop back. KJ Simpson from Colorado, Bronny James. I mean, we're in the second round, and I think that's something. You know, Tamani Kamara was an aberration from last season. The fact that he got an opportunity to play in Portland allowed the majority of the league to see what he was capable of. It's something that we definitely saw in Summer's league. But again, I think that's the exception, not the rule, as we know. So we'll see what the Suns do here. I'll ask you guys this question: what if the Suns? We'll play the what if game. What if the Suns take that 56th overall pick and trade it and get more assets out of it?
I'm glad you said that.
Is that the best
I kind of
move?
wanted to talk about either that or Bronny James, so I'm glad that you.
Because I'll tell you this: like, I play 2K, I play Madden. When I play those games and the draft comes around, especially Madden, when you have like a 5th, 6th, 7th round pick, I package all those and trade them next season for like 3 picks. Like, I just continue to trade back because I'm like, I don't give a shit who I'm picking at 7th, you know. So, what do you guys think? Would you be okay if the Suns take that pick, trade it backwards?
I'll answer this just real quick. We're already on like pick 39 or something like that, almost 40. Time's running out. This draft's going a lot faster than yesterday's did. But I will say this. There was a point in yesterday's draft where Sham stopped tweeting for a little bit. Woj wasn't tweeting. I was like, stuff is cooking. Stuff is brewing. And then all of a sudden, that's when we found out, you know, the Suns are trading pick 22 to Denver and they're getting all these picks back. I wonder if we might see a scenario like that, maybe closer to pick 56. The news kind of quiets down a little bit. And then that's when the Suns make a deal. I'll just say this, like, because maybe this is the not draft expert in me talking. I don't know who the hell we're going to draft. If it's not Bronny James, who, by the way, Mark Stein did say yesterday that the Suns are still interested in getting Bronny James, but will he be available? You know,
no, the Lakers pick right before us.
Exactly. So the Lakers might get him. I just think James Jones, for right now, at least an A-, at least in terms of this draft. So if he feels like trading pick 56 for future picks or whatever is the right move, I'm all for it. But if he drafts somebody that a lot of us don't know who that is, I mean, these guys know a lot better than we do, right? To an extent, they do anyways. They're the ones scouting. They're the ones that are seeing these guys in person and talking to them. So I'm going to put our newest guest on the spot here, Super Mario Hoops. Or no, excuse me, I'm sorry. I'm getting y'all mixed up at this point. My bad. Let me try that again. Suns Worldwide is joining the show. We're running out of camera room too, y'all. I got to fix this. Well, there it is. Wait, hold on. Let's see. But Suns Worldwide.
I'll just come visit you. We can have more people on.
Thank you, Casey. That looks a lot better. Suns Worldwide, you're in the dark there. Can barely see you. But how you doing, man? Welcome to the show. And what do you think, man? What should the Suns do with this 56 pick? Should they trade it? Should they draft Bronny James? Is he still available? What do you think, man?
I think it's either they trade it, because at this point, I don't even know who's on the draft board. I don't even know most of these people. I don't know. I mean, I thought Finks was going to move into the top half of the second round, but clearly that didn't happen, so they must have other plans. I think it's either Bronny or trade it. I think that's the move Phoenix is going for at this point.
Jake, any thoughts on what the Suns should do with pick 56?
Well, yeah, I still, like I said, Armando Bacot, I still like, and I know I'm trying to talk him into existence at this point, but you know, he did apparently try out with the Lakers, or you know, do a little workout with the Lakers not long ago. I'm curious, do you think the Lakers would kind of like choose not to draft Bronny because they don't want to waste a pick on him, and they know maybe nobody else will touch him, so they'll be able to just get him as an undrafted free agent?
I can see that.
Or do you think that would be too much of an insult to LeBron?
I'm glad you said that, because John and I kind of disagreed in this. Remember when you and I were talking about Rich Paul in my live show the other day, John? I'm like, what if Rich Paul, I know he doesn't have much control over that, but like
Rich Paul don't care about his players.
I don't know, man. And we were talking about it yesterday on yesterday's show. Like, he really doesn't have much control if Bronny goes undrafted and everything. But at the same time, it's like,
we just got some Bronny James news.
What?
So Rich Paul is telling teams that Bronny James could play in Australia if he doesn't get drafted.
Oh, see, there you go.
Where are you seeing that from?
Oh, from NBA Central.
Oh,
Yep.
careful
There
with
it
what
is.
you see.
There it is.
Careful with what
LA.
you see on those. By the way, that sometimes that
It's all
account
part of
gets a
the
little.
Rich Paul experience. He's
Yeah.
telling LA, you better draft him now.
Or he's
Bob
going to go to
Meyer-
Australia.
okay.
Ooh.
So Suns Worldwide, you were right. Bob Myers states that Rich Paul is warning teams. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I have
Warning
one
them.
thing to propose though, because I know obviously it seems like you guys and the Lakers have been like the two teams most linked to Bronny. And the 54th pick is Boston, who already has mentioned that they might be willing to trade their first round pick. Do you think there's a possibility they could make a trade with Phoenix and you guys hop ahead and get Bronny instead of the Lakers?
I don't see it.
You don't see it?
Especially moving up just 2 spots for Bronny James.
I mean, if you're
playing
in the NBA draft,
if you're playing
You never
40
know.
chess, though, what you do is you trade up ahead of the Lakers.
Yeah.
The Lakers think you're going to take Bronny James, so then they trade you to get that pick, and you get more assets out of it. That's 4D chess.
That is true. They could do that even as well.
I wrote about that for Bright Side of the Sun today.
Wait,
Speaking of 4D chess tonight, presidential debate. Oh no.
Yes.
Wait, I think we just got.
Oh
some
God!
news.
Now I'm gonna lose like millions of subscribers, because we're talking politics over here.
Is that supposed to say Portland or Phoenix?
It says Phoenix. Phoenix is picking what?
Whoa!
Oso.
Wait, how did we get the 40th pick?
Yeah, what's going on there? Shams.
What? Shams, what the hell?
Portland's on the clock.
Always what? Wait, what?
What? How did we get 40? What the hell's happening? Breaking news, y'all. Somehow the Suns have traded for the 40th pick, and we're getting what?
The Knicks are
trading number 40 to the Suns per Woj. And we're getting Oso. I don't want to butcher that name. You guys are better with names than me.
Why do we always pick a guy I have a hard time? Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah, exactly. Like
Oso.
they draft people who I know nothing about. They draft people with names that I cannot pronounce. What the hell is going on? So now the Knicks have picked 51 and 56. That was such perfect timing, y'all, because we were talking about what the Suns should do with that 56 pick, and they have now traded it to the New York Knicks. So now the Knicks have 51 and 56. Holy cow. And now everybody, including myself, is probably Googling Oso. How do you pronounce that? Oso
Ighodaro. I don't know.
Ighodaro at 40. What the hell?
Okay, what's amazing about this is if you look at ESPN's best available, he's not even in the remaining 60 players.
Typical James Jones guy.
So
never heard of him.
Strikes again.
But, yeah, I have no idea who Oso Sorry is.
Well, if you're just joining the show, y'all, we got 242 people in here. Crush that like button. We're joined by John from the Suns Jam Session podcast, Jake, FallenFounder from the Suns Planet Pod. Suns Worldwide wasn't here. We're joined by Super Mario Hoops as well. And breaking news, the Suns have traded for the 40th pick. So they move up like 15 slots or whatever, 14 slots. And the Knicks now have 51 and 56.
Why did they move up? Nobody
draft.
wanted this guy.
Nobody knew who. I have no clue who he was. Is he a forward? Like, I'm legit Googling him right now because I know nothing about
Center
him.
for Marquette's Golden Eagles, Kolik's team. He had scored over 13 points a game, just under 7 rebounds, just under 3 assists, and shooting just under 60%.
6'11" too. 6'11".
He was a senior. Yeah, senior. So he's.
James
Jones does like his guys to come in with experience.
Oso Ighodaro is how you pronounce it. I like that. Wow.
How are the Knicks going to have
2-time All Big East
on the team? They're getting everything.
4-year player. So
dude, the
here's
Knicks
the other annoying
are just
thing.
Winning, man.
So here's the other annoying thing.
Go ahead,
both
John.
of our picks are not our picks that when we go back and we look at their pictures in the draft, they're going to be wearing another team's hat. Like, I'm already pissed off about that with Ryan Dunn. He's wearing a Nuggets hat in all of his initial pictures.
Yep.
Son of a bee.
Yeah.
So real quick, this is just, I'm sure there's lots of other websites I could go, but I just pulled up NBA.com's outlook on him, and I'm just, give me a second here. You guys, my computer's a little laggy. But there he is. You want to pronounce that the name one more time, John? I'm sorry.
Oso Ighodaro.
Oso Ighodaro, 6'10", 222 pounds, from Marquette, junior, by the way. Spent 4 years of college at Marquette. There's just the whole profile, a little bit of analysis, projection from RotoWire. Given that he's a big man who can facilitate for his teammates while also protecting the rim, his game resembles more. His game resembles more athletic Yusuf Nurkic. Is this the Yusuf Nurkic replacement? What the hell?
We don't need Nurk. We've got an athletic Nurk coming in.
However, considering he still needs his work on defense, he has made strides in that regard, impressing in the 2024 NBA Draft Combine, which I believe James Jones and Mike Budenholzer were at least they were there one day, with his ability to set screens and switch on to smaller players. That said, he might find it easier to thrive on offense than defense to start his NBA career. While he might not have all-star ceiling of other versatile big men, such as Domantas Sabonis, he should be serviceable front court player for years to come, either in a starting role or off the bench. That's your expert inside analysis from your boy Suns Geek. I'm just kidding. That all comes from NBA.com here, profiled by RotoWire.
All right, and I'll add to that.
What just happened, John? John, tell us what the hell just happened.
I'll add to that. So Kevin O'Connor, the Ringer, had him as his 47th overall prospect.
Okay.
Gifted passer with the defensive versatility to stick in the league. Shades of Al Horford. Well-rounded defender, best suited in a switching scheme next to a rim-protecting center. So a forward.
Pull it up while I'm talking about it.
He has the quickness to play out on the perimeter and the size to help with the rim. He brings mobility, intelligence, and grit to defense. Playmaking hub for Marquette, who could be a connective piece in the NBA with his feel and two-man actions. He loves to fire bounce passes from the elbows to cutters and off. Yeah, he sounds just like Nurk, dude. Strong screener, lob threat. Minuses: undersized, great. Typical Suns. We're always undersized. Undersized as the lone big on the floor, unless he's in a small ball lineup. He doesn't rack up rebounds or offer elite rim protection. He's a non-shooter at this point. He doesn't take jumpers, and he's a subpar free throw shooter. But considering his success from floater range, there could be some untapped potential in a spot-up shooter. Oakley dokley, then. Well, there you go. That's who we have.
And a Chandler, Arizona native, if that wasn't mentioned.
What a native of where?
Chandler, Arizona.
Really?
Wow. Okay.
All right. Well, I will say that I'm going to pop up. I got to write a piece for Brightside real quick.
No, you're good, man. Take your time. Come back whenever, man. Appreciate your insight and analysis, man.
Go Suns.
Go Suns. So real quick, y'all, let's just recap because I'm seeing people in the chat. So first off, shout out to Mary and shout out to everybody who is in here. Suns Fever, Michael, thank you for everybody for being here. Mary asked, did anyone pick Tyler Kolek or no? Yes, the New York Knicks did. They traded up for him. They got him at 34. And then all of a sudden, we were just sitting here talking about what were the Suns going to do with the 56 pick? Should they draft Bronny, et cetera, et cetera? And all of a sudden, Shams is like, the Phoenix Suns are drafting at 40. We're like, what? And then we all checked our phones. We all went to Twitter, and they traded pick 56 for pick 40, and they got this guy, Oso, if that's how you say his first name. And looks like a little bit of a Mike Budenholzer type guy. Super Mario, I don't know if you know much about him or Mike Budenholzer's system. I'm sure you probably would, being a Bulls fan and everything, because the Bulls played the Hawks a lot and all that, and the Bucks and everything. This kind of seems like a Mike Budenholzer type guy. Is that fair to say?
I mean, I think so from the sound of it. I mean, obviously, I don't know too much about him as a player.
Yeah, me neither. But from his profile that we've been reading here from the Ringer and NBA.com,
yeah,
sounds like a Mike Budenholzer type guy.
I think he could be a good addition. I mean, I think the biggest thing that you guys need, there's a few things, but especially like at the center position is like the most questionable because, I mean, from like the 2-3 guys that you have like kind of interchanging there, like you could argue that you need improvements in all those areas. So we'll see. I mean, maybe he could be the guy. I saw the other thing that was saying like he he doesn't have all-star potential or as a ceiling, but he could be like a serviceable starting role for the team. So I don't know. I mean, I think he's a good pick though. It's not bad to maybe take a little bit of a gamble at this position in the draft, and also like for an area where you're trying to fit the team's need.
And again, John was talking about this earlier, and Suns Worldwide, Jake, you guys can chime in here with this as well. Like the fact that James Jones actually traded for picks and now is bringing in youth players, so Suns fans quit complaining about that. We actually have young players that we can develop. Maybe they'll even have a spot on this team in the rotation, especially a Ryan Dunn. But maybe this guy surprises us all, and he's part of the rotation for a few games. So Jake, Suns Worldwide, I swear I'm going to get y'all mixed up throughout the whole show. Any thoughts on what I just said? Like, could you guys see this maybe being somebody who spends time with our team, doesn't go to the G League, you know what I mean? Competes hard in practice, earns his minutes that way. We all know Ryan Dunn's going to get minutes.
Yeah.
But for, second rounders, I don't know. Seems like a Mike Budenholzer type guy.
No, I really like this kid. It seems like he served as a playmaking 5 on Marquette. He's a good shot blocker, has good rim presence. I'm reading the scouting report right now. I have no clue who this guy is. I've heard his name.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think any of us did, man.
He's effective in switching defensive schemes, guards both perimeter players and interior threats. It just seems like we got another defensive mind player here that, I mean, honestly, it's not really a bad risk to take here at this point in the draft. He's 6'11", has decent size, has a pretty good field goal percentage. Shoots 58% from the field. And he's a pretty, decent free throw percentage. Not bad. He averaged 14 points in college and pretty much 7 rebounds.
So real quick, thank you for the insight, Suns Worldwide. Real quick, Casey made this little graphic here, as you guys can see on the screen. But John Gambadoro has a tweet here, and I'm going to pull it up real quick. I don't know how the Suns ended up with pick 51, but according to Gambo, what's that?
I'm also confused about that.
Yeah.
So hold on. Let's see. Wait a minute. That's not the tweet. Wait, what's going on here? That's Matt Ishbia's tweet about Kevin Durant. Here we go. So here's Gambo's tweet. According to John whoa, what is going on with my computer? I'm sorry, y'all. My computer is lagging. I'm trying to get to the tweet. But John Gambadoro is pretty much saying, while I pull it up, to move up to 40 and draft Oso, Phoenix gives up 51 and 56. Suns traded the 2028 second of Boston that was protected for 51. So can you guys see that on the screen right there?
Okay.
So it seems like they traded that future Boston pick to get 51 and then traded 51 and 56 to move up to 40. Is that how I'm understanding that?
Wait, the second round pick in 2028 was protected up to the 51 spot?
Yeah.
So it was basically a worthless second round pick.
What the hell just happened?
I mean, I've seen first round protections, but like that's deep into the second right?
Yeah, I didn't even know second round protection was a thing.
When did we trade Boston?
I know.
Yeah.
What is going on? Have you guys ever seen the movie Draft Day with Kevin Costner?
Yeah.
Like this reminds me of like a certain scene in there when they like trade for number 1 or whatever. They're like, do we have this pick and all that? Like I'm sure the Suns war room was doing the same thing we were just doing for a minute. That's nuts, man.
I'm just trying to think of like what trades we had though.
Isaiah Thomas all those years ago.
Maybe
for something.
Remember, you could.
Into the future.
It says, this pick, the 51st pick, was originally your guys's, right? And you traded it to the Wizards for with Chris Paul.
Okay.
Oh yeah, thank you, Super Mario.
But I don't see. I'm confused on how you guys got it back to trade it to the Knicks. So it was.
Finessing.
I don't even know.
It's whatever.
I'm trying to see if like Shams or Woj said anything. I'm sure we'll find out about it. But
I like that first response to Gam too. Since when did we have 51?
Exactly. Like when did that happen, man?
That's been the question. Nobody's even looking at the draft pick. They're looking at how did we get pick 51 here.
Well, I will say this about Oso. It's interesting. I feel like the second round used to be, I mean, it doesn't feel like it was that long ago, but maybe it was like more than a decade ago. But I felt like the second round used to be much more for NBA teams to do draft and stash. Remember that as like a legitimate strategy. Like, here's a random European player. We're going to let him sit in Europe and marinate, and then maybe someday we'll call him back up and tell him to pack his bags. And it doesn't seem that, I mean, with the run on French players last night in the first round, it doesn't seem like that is going to be much of a strategy moving forward. You might as well just draft them, put them in the G League, and or find a spot on your roster. With the development from all these other countries that where players are coming from now.
And Jake, excuse me, Jake, I'm really glad that you said that, because earlier I highlighted this question here from Nikola, who says, "Hi from Serbia." So shout out to Serbia, watching all the way from there. "What's your take on European basketball?" And then he asked me about a player whose name or a team, I believe, team from Serbia. Dante Exum played for them last season. But to kind of go off what you were saying, Jake, here, I think the whole draft and stash isn't really a thing anymore, at least for right now anyways, because we're in one, and Super Mario, I know you're an NBA history guy like me. We're in one of the best eras in basketball like ever. Like, the talent is just from top to bottom, and the league just keeps on getting better and better. And, like Nikola Jokic, for example, we've seen MVP players, all-stars fall to the second round. You mentioned Isaiah Thomas earlier, Jake. Like, he was the 60th pick. You know what I mean? And he was like a, two-time, three-time, four-time all-star, something like that. So it's like the league just keeps getting better and better. And that's also where the G League has been super important, which is why Robert Sarver should have never sold the Suns G League team. Like, some of these second-round picks, heck, even first-round picks go to the G League and shine there. And you know what I mean? And sometimes undrafted players. The league just keeps getting better and better. So I'm so glad that you mentioned, like, why draft and stash isn't the thing anymore. Now, look, I do not watch European basketball. I didn't even know who half these French players and European players were prior to like a month ago. But like, I do know this. There are players that should be in the league that are playing overseas, in my personal opinion. That might be my hot take for the show. You know what I mean? I never make hot takes. There are guys that should be in the league that are playing overseas. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I think that was a good transition to that conversation. Super Mario, Suns Worldwide. Any thoughts on what we've been talking about? You want to talk Super Mario?
I mean, it's just a lot of movement in the second round. Like, literally, there's more picks in the second round that get moved than don't get moved. Like,
that's where every pick's been traded.
Yeah, I mean, like, has there even been any that's stayed the same? Like, even I think the 35th pick,
like one or two.
I guess I got my wish, because I was like, hey, I didn't see much trades happening in the first round involving picks. And literally, Woj just tweeting out that Atlanta and Miami have flipped picks 43 and 44. So I guess we got our wish with the trades.
There's only 3 picks that have not been moved like at all via a trade, and that's the 35th, the 45th, and the 47th picks. So
I love it.
Yeah.
I'm looking at Oso's weaknesses here, and they're kind of interesting, actually.
Talk to us.
He's limited when serving as alone big on the floor. He does not accumulate rebounds or provide elite rim protection, which is kind of contradicting because that was one of his strengths up here, I'm pretty sure.
That's why I mean that, like, his block numbers, he played a lot of minutes, like over 30 minutes a game, and he has a little over 1 block for a 6'11" guy. He seems to be, if his defense is getting mentioned, it seems to be much more about positional switching on screens. But he doesn't fill any stat box. Maybe he's like a PJ Tucker that can't shoot. But PJ's stats never jumped off, the charts anywhere, but he could stay in front of just about anyone as well. And maybe that's kind of what they're looking at. I don't know. I don't see a big ceiling with Oso. That's kind of I almost always in the second round think, okay, you've got to look at like raw prospects.
Yeah.
Could turn out to be something special. They just need to develop. And this guy seems to be much more of a decent floor, low ceiling play. And, maybe that's not bad, but I don't know. You're going to look at players now that we have that newly established G League team and see a Jahlil Okafor, and you're going to say, why do we have how has Okafor fallen so far from when he was first drafted, and now the Suns are playing Oso instead of Okafor?
So real quick, you guys, I want to give a shout out to Brandon Clean from Locked On Suns. He does great work over there. He tweeted this out, and then John Gambo responded to him, but he tweeted out that so odd this was changed on Tankathon last night. I didn't see it coming through from a reporter, and the Suns never announced. So the Suns get Oso and now have Denver's 2 seconds in 2026 and in 2031. And they have their own 2031 first round pick, I believe, available. And then John Gambo said, was not reported, but he did have it. And Gambo is usually right most of the time. I even tweeted him earlier that he was right about the Eric Gordon stuff. So I just want to let y'all know. So the Suns trade up all the way to 41, and they still have the 2 Denver picks in 26 and 31, and in their own 31 pick, including now Ryan Dunn and Oso. That's what I'm going to call the guy until I learn how to pronounce his last name.
I think the Suns have bigger plans for the 2031 pick, considering what value that pick clearly holds, which is kind of strange because that's a ways out from now.
We're going to get that 7th grader that everybody's talking about.
Right. And Rob Dillingham was pretty much moved for a 2031 pick and another 2030 pick, I believe. So that's interesting. So I kind of think Phoenix has a package cooking up, but I found this as a win that you walk out of here with more draft picks than what you came in with. So that's cool.
Facts.
But what you were saying though, Founder, about the shooting and stuff, on his weaknesses report, he has a lack of shooting prowess and minimal range, and he has a subpar performance from the free throw line. And he is raw as a spot up shooter despite success with floaters and decent looking jump shot.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at his stats, it doesn't look like he hit a 3 his entire 4 years of college.
Yeah, I was like, I didn't see
0%. So he's not going to space the floor. I like that. An athletic Yusuf Nurkic. He does pass the ball well for a big man, but Nurk certainly is much better at rebounding than this guy is.
While this 44th pick is up here right now, I'm a little surprised that earlier today that the Hawks traded AJ Griffin like straight up for it.
That is strange.
Like, I mean, he was only in his second year. I remember the dude went on like a roll. He had like 2 game winners and stuff like that. He was playing pretty well the start of his rookie year, and then like basically kind of fell out of the rotation. But like you trade him just straight up for a second round pick when he was a first round pick. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, it's kind of weird to me.
I will say, I don't know if it's strictly a Phoenix Suns and potentially Chicago Bulls fan base type situation, but I feel like you never find a fan base get more fired up and upset or excited around a second round pick as you do with teams like ours. I feel like other teams are like, second round pick, cool. Okay, so he's not going to get past training camp or summer league. And then we're like, okay, can we build a future around this guy? Is he the one? Can he be our starting 4 or 5?
Yeah. I mean, luckily, at least this time, like we didn't even have our second round pick. I'm just glad we had a pick this time and in general in the first round, because year before was not fun to watch.
I'm curious if the Suns try to move in here. Maybe they get Bronny.
You think the Knicks are going to...
Guys, Geek's internet cut out, so he'll be back shortly. So just help carry on the show, guys. Thank you.
No worries. You guys think the Knicks will make another trade? Because they've made probably 7 in this draft.
Haven't they been mostly to OKC too?
I could see the Jazz trying something just because Danny Ainge doesn't like to be shown up by anyone. when it comes to trades.
It'd be funny if the Suns traded to 54 right before the Lakers pick, or they pick at 56. What pick
That
do the
would be
Lakers have?
funny. Yeah, Lakers are 55th. Yeah.
Get Bronny.
But I just think it's fascinating when you look at like the best of who's left available, and the Suns went with somebody that's not even in the top 60. I mean, that's kind of the fun thing about the second round is all of a sudden you hear like, Bob Smith of, like Indonesia is getting drafted. And you're like, I don't know that Indonesia has a basketball program. And so everyone has to go and start Googling. And it's kind of like, what was that Adam Sandler movie about where he's like an NBA scout for 76ers? Hustle?
Yeah.
That was kind of one of his better, more recent movies, I feel like, hanging out with, was it Hernan Gomez?
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, that I kind of like, I was like, man, that would be kind of a fun job to be an NBA scout, but like an international one, and just like show up places and be like, all right, let's see if your guy can play. And then try and keep it quiet so nobody else hears about it.
Yeah. I don't know. It's weird. Basketball is so crazy.
Mm-hmm.
The sport.
Now we got to find Bob Smith from Indonesia.
Exactly. Is there a Bob Smith that resides there? Yeah.
I thought the Kings trade earlier today was interesting, considering that pick is now on the clock with trading Davion Mitchell to the Raptors.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think that helps the Kings, to be honest.
I'll say, as a Kings fan, Davion Mitchell was like big with the fans. Everyone really liked him and liked his game.
That is true.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly. Who did we get again for that trade? I remember reading it briefly.
Jalen
McDaniels.
And again, I don't know much of his game. If you guys can maybe help me out, like tell me about his game if it's really good. I'm not 100% sure about that. But as a Kings fan, I saw that and I was a little bummed. But then I also look at the future and see like, hey, maybe it's for a reason. Let's do it.
Jalen just like half the player of his brother, pretty much.
Yeah, I just feel like you guys like maybe had like a little too many smaller guards, and obviously like you said, he must be like big there in Sacramento and everything like that. But I just feel like getting a guy that's like more of a versatile wing was kind of like what the Kings needed, especially because like Harrison Barnes is good and all, but like I feel like he's probably a player that like his shelf life at that capability might not be all too long. So.
Well, I know before once they drafted yesterday, they had 8 guards total on their roster, which fans are like, we needed a wing. What's going on? So I guess this trading Mitchell for a wing and McDaniels actually would be something in the right direction for the Kings.
Interesting. Yeah. Did you guys know AJ Johnson is Jalen Green's brother? The Bucks point guard that they selected at 23?
Did not.
AJ Johnson is, you said, whose brother you said?
Jalen Green.
Oh, I did not know that, actually.
I saw that yesterday.
Casey, you said you're a Kings fan?
Yep.
I've got a question then for you, because I've thought about it for a while, and I think the news came out that Fox is not going to just go ahead and sign an extension. Is it tough being the team in California that, up until maybe the last couple of years, that people don't want to play with? I feel like because California is usually considered a higher tax state. So, that's, I remember when Dwight Howard went to the Houston Rockets from LA, and everyone's like, he's going to save millions by not having to pay taxes. And it was like, oh yeah, I think people sometimes forget that. But then you look at, okay, like people can get attracted to LA or to the Clippers because it's LA, and people think LA, cool city. And obviously with the Golden State Warriors playing around San Francisco, you get the coast, you get the ocean nearby. Sacramento, you don't get the ocean nearby. You don't get the LA lifestyle. You still pay the high taxes. So it's like the worst of all worlds in California. I mean, I don't know. Is it country, or like Domantas Sabonis setting up vineyards nearby, or?
Yeah, he lives on a farm over here. No, Sacramento they do have the city. Of course, they have a lot of things spread out. It's not a lot of farmland. It's actually mostly buildings I lived there only for about a year, so I know very little. I know kind of downtown Sacramento, which is where the stadium is kind of congested with buildings and all that there. They have Old Town Sacramento as well. I think what's been happening more recently with playing for Sacramento is like the fans. The fans, like before I was a Kings fan before this year, I went to a couple of games, and it doesn't matter if the team was losing or they're not having a great record. Fans were there supporting, and the players do recognize that, and they kind of, how can I say this? They support, and the players really do see that, and they really do enjoy that. I think a big part of Malik Monk, besides just Aaron Fox's friend and all that being joined, but he became kind of like a Sacramento person. Like when the beam went up, he'd always go outside, take a photo with the beam and stuff, kind of live the Sacramento culture. So it's a whole culture thing, I believe, now with Sacramento, and that's why people do actually like playing here now, which is awesome. Yeah.
I just feel like, that this is kind of and Geek, this too, right? I mean, well, and sorry, but no, it seems so much more often in the NBA that you hear players looking to move to a place because of a lifestyle or a culture thing. Like, oh, they want to go to Miami because it'd be on South Beach. But when you watch the NFL, you don't hear oh, this free agent's looking to go to the Dolphins because he wants to be on South Beach. It's because the Dolphins can afford him. It's almost always for other sports. It's money, playing time, opportunity. But basketball, they always kind of throw in a little bit more, because a lot of these players anymore are building brands. And I think, kind of like what you mentioned with Sacramento, and maybe to a degree with what Giannis has done in Milwaukee. I mean, Giannis for the rest of his life, since he won one title, and sorry I have to do this to you, Super Mario, and talk about a Bucks player, but Giannis, it's kind of like if you are a Packer, you are now considered royalty anytime you're in and around the Green Bay or Wisconsin in general area. I guarantee you, Giannis 30 years from now could walk into Milwaukee and people would be like, I want to buy you a drink. And I think some players are just hey, Salt Lake City too, John Stockton, Karl Malone are always going to be legends, even though they never won anything there. But just the success they had, that they can kind of be big fish in small ponds. Or do you go and just add to yet another championship banner in LA or Boston? What are the goals for these individual players? It's always kind of interesting to kind of tease it out. Maybe that's kind of the Sacramento King draw right now, is the fervent fan base, because there's obviously so much passion behind it. I feel like Phoenix kind of has that. But the fan base can be a little subdued sometimes. I mean, I've been to games even, a couple of years ago, when we were in the playoffs against the Pelicans in the first round, and we won that series. We won that game. I was there too. I was with Sosa's Jay from Fanning the Flames that day, and I was kind of expecting more of a Oklahoma City Thunder collegiate atmosphere of yelling and screaming, and everyone was just kind of all right, go Suns, and then the Pelicans would have the ball and they'd be defense, and it was kind of just you can almost kind of feel that a lot of the Suns attendees are still kind of the transplants that are there for maybe their winter break or something. So I don't know. It's just kind of interesting to me.
I'm sorry. No.
I just I like kind of the draw for Arizona. We're kind of a balance. I feel like it's a big metro city, lower tax state in Arizona. And of course, right now we have a tremendous amount of talent that can be a pull for free agents to consider taking pay cuts. But I don't know. I mean, what Geek, you're in Memphis now, right? Have you checked out Grizzly games? I mean, is there a comparison between Memphis and Phoenix in terms of cultural draw?
I know you went to one last year.
Yeah. So, and I've let my audience know this too. I did move to Memphis back in 2020. It's a long.
Oh, good. I was worried. I was outing you. It's
no, that's
not
okay.
a Phoenix guy.
No, everyone knows his location. Get him.
My audience knows, man. I'm brutally honest to a fault on this channel, and that's just how I am as a person too, y'all. But anyways, yeah, I moved to Memphis in 2020 with the family. Family comes first. You guys know that. And it's weird in terms of the landscape of Memphis. You guys would be actually surprised. It actually looks a lot like Phoenix, but with more green and less desert. We actually have grass here and trees and weather. You know what I mean? It literally rained last night during the draft. It's a big storm during the draft. But the culture is good. I've met some really good people here, and I feel like the fan base is pretty passionate. At least the people I've met, they're more Memphis Tigers fans. If that's kind of what we're talking about here, I've met so many Memphis Tigers fans. In fact, a colleague of mine at the place that I work at, he worked with Penny Hardaway because he's the Memphis Tigers coach. He works with Penny Hardaway. So it's like a small world, you know. Haven't met really too many hardcore Grizzlies fans, but I did go to one game and I filmed a YouTube short over there. And that was a lot of fun, by the way. It's a cool arena, very passionate fans. They did not like me at all. But it was cool, man. Had a blast, and Memphis is pretty cool. Like I said, you guys would be surprised that a lot of it looks just like Phoenix. You know what I mean? It's I can't believe it.
Imagine if there was like Suns fans in the Midwest. Like, I can't even imagine if there were Suns fans there, man. There's no way.
Because Jake and Suns Worldwide, you guys are you guys don't live in the same. Yeah, like where are you guys at again?
Des Moines, Iowa, and he's in the western part of the state, and Lamar's, if I can.
That's what I figured. I was like, I knew you guys were from the same place. We're all around the globe here, y'all.
Cash is from the ice cream capital of the world. Side note, you guys probably didn't know it was in Iowa.
Where Blue Bunny's from. Blue Bunny ice cream.
But no, I'm always kind of intrigued. I don't know if you guys ever did like My Player in NBA 2K, but it was like
hell yeah,
college, and like, you want to like be like part of like this historic program or this one that wins all the titles, or like do you want to be a star of like an underperforming school? And it's always kind of like I'd always sit there and be like, that's a good question. I never had enough talent to decide that. I was always just like, what has a good political?
You can have all three. You can only pick one. Yeah.
So real quick, you guys, just a little programming update here, because obviously there's a lot of picks that we all don't really know about. So if we want to kind of move this show in terms of NBA talk, we can do that because there's been a lot of moves. You know, we can really talk about whatever from this point, because I believe the guest list is pretty much done here. I don't think Boyd from the Aussie Suns Fans is going to be able to join us. Not sure what my guy Ben Parker's doing right now. So we can really talk about whatever, y'all. We can talk about free agency that's coming up. I'm literally going to need those 3 days just to process the draft and everything that happened before I even dive into free agency. And we don't just have to talk about Suns. Obviously, we can talk all things NBA. You know, what's going to happen with Paul George? You know, what's going to happen with your Chicago Bulls, Super Mario? We can talk about anything, even your Sacramento Kings, Casey. So I just wanted to let the audience know, because we have over 300 people in here, y'all. So crush that like button. My apologies, because the internet did cut out, but I kind of needed a break anyways. Did 4-hour live show yesterday, and we're almost at an hour and 45 minutes here. It's a lot of live stream, guys. Thanks, man.
All right, here,
it doesn't compare to Kevin Durant though. You were on for like probably 12 hours in 2 days.
Oh God, that was nuts.
And I'm gonna bring it right to it. Was I the only one that, as soon as you guys heard the rumors that Houston's trying to trade us a bunch of picks for Durant, that I could not have been the only one that then ran to NBA 2K and was like, all right, I'll take your picks, and then you got to give me. I think I took Steven Adams. Was it Jabari Smith? Who's the guy that they got last year?
Thompson.
Plays out on the wing. No, I guess I'm thinking maybe 2 years ago then. Forward for him. Plays about 20 minutes a game.
Jabari Smith.
No, I had Jabari, Steven Adams, Dylan Brooks.
Wait, is he on the Rockets, Steven Adams?
No. This guy comes off the bench.
No, you said Steven Adams, though, but Whitmore. Is he on the Rockets?
Is it?
Yeah.
Steven Adams, yep, because he got offloaded to him, yeah.
Are you talking Tari Eason?
Jeez.
No, I was thinking Whitmore. Okay. But so Whitmore, Adams, Brooks, and Smith, and 4 first-round draft picks. Just going to say the Suns win the NBA title in 3 years over the Indiana Pacers, who also have Jason Tatum. So it's all legit. It's all legit, but I'm sure I could not have been the only one that's like, well, let's just see what this would generate, because it wasn't just the picks. Obviously, you would still have to match salary, and the Rockets have some young pieces that could be intriguing. I know Espo even said, like, make it Şengün instead of Adams, and maybe you take that deal. Şengün, Smith, Whitmore, Brooks, and 4 first. Maybe you think about it.
Thank you, Jake. I'm so glad you said this. I can already see that your Suns Planet podcast hosting is saving this show, especially when I left. Thank you guys for all carrying the show. But real quick, I'm glad you said that. And I'm glad this kind of comment popped up here. So look, I just want to go on record because a lot of people sometimes take things I say and they go a little too far with it because I am the host of this channel and everything. So I'm going to full screen myself for a minute. Oh, that's full screen Casey. My bad. I'm losing track.
I'll talk then. Okay.
So real quick, you guys, I am not saying that I want to trade Kevin Durant. Do not go in my comment section and say, Suns Geek wants Kevin Durant traded, blah, blah, blah. Do not do that, please. I'm just saying we're just talking hypothetical here, as Jake was kind of saying. So I just want to make that clear. I do not want to trade Kevin Durant. But as Jake was saying, in the event, the very extremely unlikely event, because our owner literally just came out and said Kevin Durant's not going anywhere. He loves Phoenix. Phoenix loves him. We love him, blah, blah. In the very unlikely event that Kevin Durant would get traded to Houston, Espo from PHNX, they do great work over there. He's 110% right. Alfred Sengun is a awesome player. And he probably, you could make the argument, maybe Super Mario, you might disagree with me here. He should have probably been an all-star this year. And I know that when he went down with that injury, they went on an 11-game winning streak. That's a fluke. That was just a nice run by the Rockets. He is a solid player. So if they packaged like Sengun, one of their young guys, a whole bunch of draft picks, that would be intriguing. But Phoenix, that's a completely different conversation for another time. I'm just strictly focusing in on hypotheticals here. That if the Rockets did that, I would want Alfred Sengun. The dude is a monster. He's a rising star in this league and just a really, really talented player, man. I think coming out of the draft, he won like the Turkish MVP or something like that, or he had a really good career over there. So I'm glad that we actually have something we can talk about here, a little hypothetical here. Super Mario, any thoughts on this hypothetical Kevin Durant Rockets trade that's not going to happen?
Like Geek wants to trade KD.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it
Cancel
would never.
Suns Geek because he wants to trade KD.
Yeah, it would not happen. I saw when I saw the rumor come out, I was like, that doesn't even really make sense. But I mean, hey, if the Rockets do think about moving Alperen Sengun, I'd more than happily take him on my Bulls for Nikola Vucevic. So
That would be awesome for you guys, by the way.
Because I'm like I said, I'm a big Sengun guy. So and I do think if he wasn't like maybe an all-star, he at least deserved to be in very close consideration for it this year. So I think he's a player that might even be like the best player in that draft class when it's all said and done. So
Suns Worldwide, before we get your thoughts on that, you are correct. Denver is trading Reggie Jackson, who I thought they just brought back for some reason to Charlotte for 3 unprotected second-round picks. When did unprotected second-round picks become a thing? Seriously, I didn't know that.
Thunder got everyone's first-round picks.
Right.
So the Thunder are trading Reggie Jackson to Charlotte for 3. What is Denver doing, man? Are they embracing the youth movement? Is Nikola Jokic going to ask for a trade? No, I'm just kidding.
When the Clippers
was that like 300 draft picks now for the Thunder? Is that what they have?
When the Clippers traded Reggie Jackson, they traded into the Hornets too.
Oh yeah,
he got traded to the Hornets twice in a span of 14 or 15
Is
months.
Reggie Jackson that bad, or does he only cook the Suns when he plays us?
He cooks.
I feel like Reggie Jackson has broken our hearts multiple times.
I was like, I thought he was pretty good.
Yeah, he's a scorer, man. But
they tried him as the guy in Detroit, I think, for a year or two, and then they just realized no, he's much more of a microwave coming off the bench backup point guard. But yeah,
seems like a move for Denver to make up for the picks they lost in that Phoenix trade.
Yeah, that's true. Good point.
We could see Reggie Jackson get bought out. Phoenix Suns.
Maybe.
Maybe. Good to have somebody wearing goggles again in the Valley.
That would be tough.
Speaking of, joining the Phoenix Suns, I don't really know if we talked about this in full length. What are your guys' thoughts on the report that the Suns might be targeting Chris Dunn in free agency? I'll just say this. I'm all for it, and that's not just because we drafted Ryan Dunn. I was all for it before we even made that pick, especially if it's cheap and it's on the minimum. Yeah, Suns Worldwide, you got any thoughts on that, man?
I like Chris Dunn. I can't say I really go out of my way to watch Chris Dunn, but if it's the right move for the Suns, I'm all for it. Just like Ryan Dunn and Tyler Kolek, I didn't really know much about those guys, but I went out of my way to find out what the Phoenix Suns saw in those people. And I mean, I'm sitting here behind a phone screen talking about the Suns moves. I'm not the ones making the move. So if it's the right move, go for it.
It's a done deal.
That's fair.
No.
Ew.
That was punny.
No, Chris Dunn is interesting because he similar to Ryan, perhaps. He kind of came into the league with not a great shot, but he had the athleticism and to play great defense. And he hasn't really turned into much of a distributor, but his shot has certainly improved to where now he is like, there was talk about him maybe running himself out of the league a couple of years ago. And now
I remember that.
we would be lucky, I think, to get him on a minimum contract because you know, and I hope we can, but I think he could even go out and get a minimum level exception or a mid-level exception, excuse me, somewhere.
So real quick, you know,
is Chris Dunn?
That's what I was gonna say. Like,
isn't he pretty undersized? I thought
he was like 6'4", 6'5".
Oh, really?
Yes, 6'3", maybe. But I was gonna pull up his stats. By the way, he was the 5th overall pick in 2016, which was Dragan Bender, Marquise Chris draft. By the way,
the glory days of the Suns.
He's only 30 years old, and even though he's not like a high volume shooter, shot 43%. By the way, we all know he's a scrappy, great defender, but I think he can play make a little bit. The 4.2 assists last season may not show it, but he can play make a little bit. And he has a little bit of a floater drive as well, kind of cut to the rim, kind of be a little sneaky. Obviously, he wouldn't be our number one offensive weapon, but I think he could put a few points on the board.
Oh, yeah.
Super Mario, you got any hoops on or any thoughts on Chris Dunn?
I mean, obviously, that's a former Chicago Bull, Chris Dunn. He, like, for us, I mean, definitely a defensive-minded guard. I don't know if I would say he's an all-defensive level guard, but he's like maybe if there were like 5 or 4 or 5 all-defensive teams, he'd probably be on one of them, which means I guess he's like kind of somewhere in the running of that. But, yeah, I mean, I know he's gotten a little better at shooting the three. Of course, you said like low volume, but I just don't know. I wouldn't say like he's a guy that you would rely on necessarily for offensive production coming from like his own creation of his own shot type of thing. Like maybe he could set up other guys, especially if you have like lob threats. I mean, we'll see what like Oso, like, you know, like what he brings maybe to the table. And maybe like for all we know, maybe Chris Dunn could be like a perfect pair for him. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely not like a bad guard to have off your bench. We started him, so that's why we were terrible for so long, because that's not what he is, you know.
That's true. That's fair. Yeah, I'm excited. I have no clue what the Suns are going to do in free agency, man. I just know that we haven't won a championship in the Kevin Durant era, and time's ticking away, man. It's like a 2-year window, and we're already on year 2, or a 2 or 3 year window, if you will, and we're already on year 2. So we got to trim around the edges, but the Suns are clearly all in, and I don't want to like fast forward or anything, but I don't think Bradley Beal's going anywhere, especially with the no trade clause, unless things go from super disastrous. Like it would have to get to disastrous for Kevin Durant to want out. Even then, it's like, you know, we're all in for a reason. But we just need to trim around the edges, and hopefully James Jones is learning. I've been a little bit of a critic of James Jones, even though he does these moves like he did with the Ryan Dunn thing, where he kind of reels me back in. You know what I mean? But I know it's championship or bust for the Phoenix Suns. It's championship or bust for pretty much every NBA team. But the way I look at it, especially with how disastrous last season was, it's finals or bust for this team, man. We got to reach the finals. And that's saying something, because we just got swept in the first round. But that's my point. We got to go deep into the playoffs, man. We have to. Or this is just going to look like a massive failure.
I don't think these moves have been made by James Jones. I think Matt Ishbia is behind these.
Oh, yeah. He's definitely pulling the plug on some trades or overriding them, if you will. But, you know.
something else to add, because I know we didn't really talk about this for the Reggie Jackson thing, is part of it with them trying to trade him now is because earlier today KCP said he's declining his player option, and so they might be trying to make space that they can bring him back.
Okay, I do want to bring that up because his option was like 15 million, right? If he was the option to that, does he like legit? Like, are teams really going to pay him more than that?
So there will be, you'd be surprised with how dumb some teams are. There's always one team that'll throw the money. Remember Bruce Brown last year? I mean,
yeah,
he got that.
Oh,
so.
you know
he
what?
may not even return to Toronto.
Somebody that has won a championship and then gets a massive payday, even if they weren't like in the starting lineup or if they weren't like one of the go-to guys, is James Posey from the Boston Celtics during the Garnett and Paul Pierce era, and James Posey, like they win, and all of a sudden somebody just threw a ton of money down because they're like, well, he's got championship experience, and it's like, okay, he's a decent shooter and defender, but no, KCP, I mean, yeah, you're looking at a guy that won titles in LA and Denver as a starter in both programs, and he's a very good 3-and-D guy. But you're right, I'd be surprised if it's much more, but I'm sure it's much more of a long-term contract type thing that he's looking for. So I wouldn't think much more than 15, but maybe 17 and a half. Remember what, like wasn't Kelly Oubre just getting paid about 17 million a year to be at the Sixers? So I could see KCP getting close to that, for a few years to try and get something more long-term.
The other thing, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just shocked because when I saw that he declined that, I thought about the Dennis Schroeder thing when he got that big contract and he tried to bet on himself.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, why don't you take the option? Because like I did see a report that Orlando was gonna potentially give him like $50 million for 2 years, and I fell to the floor.
Yeah.
Well, and I saw that for Klay Thompson, the Magic. We're looking at that deal was that like an overpay for they kept calling it like the Joe Ingles contract. 2 years of an overpay for a good guy that you want to see if he's got anything left in the tank.
I wouldn't rule it out, though, if, let's say, they can't bring back KCP, and assuming, what happens later today with Bruce Brown, if that's where they turn to. Because, I mean, I don't think they ever wanted to lose him. It's just they didn't want to pay, or they really couldn't pay him as much as he was looking for. Now it's like you're probably not going to get that type of deal, and you're back available. KCP might not be. Bruce Brown is younger. So I could honestly see them kind of going that direction if KCP says, you know what? I'm going to go walk. I'm going to go to like Orlando, like you guys were saying. So I don't know.
I think Denver would take a significant step back if they lose KCP. I did see on the phone maybe an hour or two ago, they are trying to look at a big extension for Murray. The Nuggets were obviously, I mean, they won the title 2 years ago and they were, big favorites to win again this year until they came up short. But a lot of that team, I mean, it wasn't that long ago that we swept Denver and their MVP because they were missing Murray. And I think, was it Michael Porter Jr. was banged up that year, I think. And so it was like the Aaron Gordon, Joker show, and they couldn't keep up with the Suns. And so that team can't really lose too much of what they have because it's a really well-run unit. So it'd be a big change-up if they lose him.
So real quick, former Phoenix Sun Jay Crowder is congratulating the Big O. How dare he disrespect Oscar Robinson? But he's congratulating the Big O. Hard work pays off. Welcome to the best league in the world. It's go time now. Former Phoenix Sun Jay Crowder congratulating the newest Phoenix Sun, Oso Ighodaro. Can't pronounce that. But real quick, I know nothing about like designing or graphics, but that's a beautiful graphic right there. Just saying. I love it. Yeah, that's like really
I was very curious. I had to actually re-Google it fast why Jay Crowder would care about this guy, and then I realized that he's a Marquette guy as well. So yeah,
I forgot about that too.
That's why I was like, well, how does he know who Oso is? And we don't.
Did he say
and real quick, you guys.
Poet?
Oh, I don't know. It's a good question, actually. But real quick, you guys, we just passed the 2-hour mark, and I believe we're on like pick 52 or 53. So I guess we're going to find out what happens with Bronny James. So if you guys want just a quick programming update, we can probably go until about the end of the draft, and then we can kind of round out the show. We got 346 people in here, y'all. So seriously, crush that like button, share the show. I'm joined by Casey, who is our part-time producer over here, helping us out behind the scenes. My guy, Super Mario Hoops, fellow content creator, friend of the channel. Suns Worldwide, appreciate you being here. And Jake, FallenFounder from the Suns Planet podcast. Appreciate you all being here. We were joined by John earlier. Yesterday, we were joined by Boyd from the Aussie Suns podcast. And we were joined by my good friend, Ben Parker, who covers sports for Standford. And he had a lot of insight about the Standford products and a lot of college guys. And it was some great insight in yesterday's show.
You got
So,
Uncle Ben on the podcast?
yes, Uncle Ben, yes.
Ooh, another Frenchman goes.
Ooh.
We got some Shams news. Apparently, he's getting locked out of his account.
Somebody,
Oh, yeah. Same thing
That's
happened
what
to Jake
happen.
Fisher, too.
At the beginning of every NBA draft,
Same thing happened to Jake Fisher. And that's happened to me, too. Like, I was just retweeting so much, and Twitter's like, whoa, what's going on here? And you have to do one of those stupid, like, are you a real person thing?
select everything that is a bus.
Yes, pretty
Suns
much.
51st pick just happened.
Or what would have been the Suns' 51st pick.
Assuming the
I thought that
Warriors
pick
go
was
big
going
there.
to Washington, unless Washington traded it.
The 51st.
Yeah, I thought that was Washington's pick.
It is, isn't it?
Oh,
It says. I mean, unless they traded it too.
yeah, right. I'm losing
But
track
that's
at
where
this point.
Melvin Ajinka of France went. French,
Oh,
dude,
okay.
cleaning up.
Is
They
that
are. They're
the
Best
dominating
Warriors?
this
university out
draft
there,
too.
University of France.
That's a good pick for the Warriors took him.
Who knows where these picks are going?
I think I saw something like because Alex Sarr and Zachary Riachet or whatever his name is, they were like the first two
Riachet.
French players like back to back or something. I can't pronounce his name to save my life. But yeah, I think they were like the first two French players like ever back to back in the draft or something like that. I'm paraphrasing that, but
It's like when AD and Michael Kidd-Gilchrist went back to back from the same college.
yeah.
So we had
Yeah.
some French Suns fans on the Suns Planet podcast, and we've teamed up with them again since then. And so go check out those episodes. But I mean, it's a big time, exciting time to be a NBA fan or a basketball fan in general in France. You got the Olympics coming to you soon this summer. You've got Wemby getting drafted, and you just had a ton of French people getting drafted in the NBA draft. I mean, it's exciting time to be over there in old Paris.
I agree with you, man.
It just shows like how much the NBA is growing and how the sport is going across the world. It's honestly crazy and so real just to see it more and more, to see where these prospects come from.
I still remember when Shaq was with the Lakers and the Suns drafted Big Jake, Yakovas Sakalidis out of Greece, originally from the Republic of Georgia. And that was kind of that era where if you were 7 feet tall and well over 200 pounds and from some random Eastern European country, an NBA team would draft you in the hopes that you could slow Shaquille O'Neal down. It was Shaq's kind of era of dominance. And that's where you found all of these random 7 feet tall European players showing up. And only some of them got to stick around. Obviously, Dirk Nowitzki turned out to be a pretty phenomenal one. But if you look back at some of those names of just really tall European players, it was kind of the early days of European basketball, and they weren't quite ready for the physicality. And that actually goes back, Geek, to the comments you got from the fan from Serbia. And Voita made a really good point about this yesterday on his draft coverage, that a lot of European teams will play together from their early teenage years, and they will practice together weekly, and they don't play a tremendous amount of games so they can really work on fundamentals. Whereas in the U.S., there's so much money being thrown into the sport that we just want to really watch the games. And so you have these kids playing one sport a year instead of what I assume a lot of us grew up in, which is like a multi-sport kind of like, I know in my school, like you played football in the fall, basketball in the winter, and then you did track or something in the spring. And a lot of these kids now, when they're 9, 10, 11, 12, are playing just basketball, club teams, and all the way through, and then they go to college for 1 year, and then they try and get drafted. And it's all much more based on their athleticism rather than the fundamentals. And I think that's how a lot of the European players have been able to catch up and really find a place for themselves in the league. I mean, think about it. Most of the MVPs, wait a minute, have all the MVPs of like the last 5-6 years been international? Joker, Embiid,
everyone since Harden.
Okay, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Real quick, so Boyd from the Aussie Suns Fans podcast says, I need a quick breakdown before I got to go again. Trade-wise, what the F has happened, yo? Well, as Gambo says here, by the way, the Suns loved Oso. They seriously considered taking him at 28 yesterday and targeted him right after the first round ended as one player they wanted to move up and get today. So that's pretty much in terms of the Suns what happened. They traded pick 56 and somehow ended up with pick 51, and then they got pick 40 and we drafted this guy from Marquette. So that's sort of the quick rundown. And then Eric Gordon is not coming back as well. So that's your Phoenix Suns update live.
If I can add, I figured out the whole 51st pick situation. I got it figured out. So apparently the Suns traded that 51st pick to the Knicks to acquire 50. No, sorry, hold on. No, they traded their 2028 second round pick to acquire 51, then traded that along with 56 to get 40 from the Knicks.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Well, I'll say this. Who here is ecstatic?
Had it? So wait, who had it before when they acquired 51?
So it was from Boston originally, and the Suns traded to the Knicks to acquire 51.
Oh, okay. So we traded in the future second round to get the 51 this year.
And then to get 40, they traded back 51 and added 56 back to the Knicks to get number 40.
Gotcha.
I'm just confused. Like, how did Boston get 51 then?
I think they said it was
I'm confused. It was the 2028 second round pick, which was Boston's original pick.
Yeah. I think they traded it. Yeah.
I can pull it up. Let me give me a second here.
Like, see, that was the only thing that was confusing me. Like, I know how they traded it to that, and I know it was originally their pick. I was just like, how did it get from? It must have got from New York to Boston, or something like that. Originally.
So, up on the top it says Phoenix traded their 2028 second round pick via Boston to the Knicks to acquire 51, then traded back to New York with 56 for 40.
Did Voita just write that? Is that where he went?
Yeah, that's a Bright Side of the Sun article right there. Let's go.
Oh, it is. Yeah. Let's look.
Shout out to Bright Side of the Sun.
Expert behind this.
So technically,
John Voita right there. Yeah.
That's where John is.
Shout out to John, man, from the Suns Jam Session podcast and the site manager at Bright Side of the Sun. Yep.
Can I just say, though, I'm ecstatic that the Suns did not take Oso in the first round because
yes, I know.
I would have been furious.
Suns fans would have been pissed.
Yeah.
I would have crashed out.
Yeah.
Ooh.
It would have been very clear that James Jones does not. Remember back when they said, why don't you have a scouting department? He's like, we have YouTube.
Dude, I remember making a video about that way back in the day. He's like, oh, when we scout, we like sit like, halfway in the standings or whatever. He said something like that. I was like, what? I was like, that's how you view scouting? Like, I was furious. And this was back when we like sucked.
It
I was like, dude, like.
It sounds like Trouble with the Curve. Like everyone wants it to be like what's the guy's name? I'm blanking out on his name. The actor, the older guy. I'm blanking out.
From what movie?
Trouble with the Curve.
Justin
Clint
Timberlake,
Eastwood. Clint Eastwood.
Amy Adams.
So like Clint Eastwood does the old style of scouting, but then like the new guy is like trying to use online analytics and stuff like that to determine who to pick in the draft and stuff. So it's kind of like that's what James Jones kind of is like, where everyone wants it kind of the old-fashioned way.
Interesting. Gerald Burgay tweeted out something about notable players who have yet to be drafted that might be worth a look if they go undrafted.
Armando Bacot.
We got Jalen Bridges.
I'll pull it up while you're talking.
Keyshawn Johnson from the University of Arizona, and Justin Edwards, who I personally like from USC.
Have we heard any more about Josh Okogie opting into his contract?
I don't know. I think
I
the 29th
believe
is the deadline for that, right?
Gambo said they want to bring him back. I believe that's what he said.
And then they want to get Bull as well because he's unrestricted.
Yep.
The tough thing, well, so Bull would have to take. He would make less.
Yeah.
By coming back, because he was on a slightly more than a minimum contract, I think.
Yeah, I think he made like $2 million.
Yeah, and he would like 2.5 maybe, and so this would bring him back at like 2.
Yeah. And I feel like I don't know. I think some other teams are going to beat him out, man. It's Bowl. They clearly saw what Bull did here. I just don't see the Suns retaining him. I think a team like the Hornets can probably give him a better offer for sure.
And that's the tough thing, like with a guy like a Josh Okogie. I mean, he's 24 years old now, and granted, he still hasn't really worked on that shot too much. But can he play, good defense for a team? Yeah, and we, as much as the Suns fans are so hungry to win this title, you got to keep in mind, fans, that a guy in their early 20s.
Bronny James has been drafted
to the Lakers.
Holy shit!
They gave
oh my god, I'll pull it up in a second, y'all.
I guess he's learning Australian. Yeah.
They gave in.
The Lakers have done it. Breaking news. Holy crap, Bronny freaking James is going to the Lakers. It's official, y'all. The Los Angeles Lakers are selecting Bronny James at 55. Everybody who hated or hates LeBron James can now go down with the sign of relief that LeBron is not coming to the Suns. Well, at least. No,
he can still opt out and come to us for.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, at least right now he isn't. But oh my god,
I don't want to play with my son. Have you seen him shoot?
He got him drafted and just leaves.
Bronny James, LeBron James are on the same team. This is happening, y'all. Today is June 27th, 2024, and we're going to see the very first ever father-son duo play at the same time. Holy crap, you guys. Bronny James, not a Phoenix Sun. Oh, boy. Wow. Immediate reaction. Who wants to start? Who wants to start with the Bronny James stuff?
Why?
Hey, I covered it pretty big time on this channel, man. So we're talking about it, man. So, Super Mario, you want to start?
Yeah, I'll say you guys should be grateful that the Lakers picked him because if LeBron tried to force his way into the Suns, I feel like that would have went even a million times worse than already what's going on. It's cool. Like, obviously, it's never been done in basketball. I think like Ken Griffey did it with his son as well in MLB. But I mean, I guess we'll see how it happens. I mean, I think, definitely were better picks that could have been made. But obviously, at this point, like I said, like you could take a little bit of a risk and this and that, and especially like if you're trying, like it seems like the Lakers are at a point where they're more so geared on, like, I guess, selling the tickets and the media. And honestly, like one thing I was thinking of too, and I was speaking about this earlier today, is that I'm curious how the media is going to rub off on the other teammates. Because I know Anthony Davis said something like earlier today, I wouldn't mind if the Lakers picked him, but I feel like we're going to get into the point in this season where the media coverage is going to be like something we probably haven't seen before, like in the locker rooms and practices, scrimmages, everything of that sort. And I'm curious how other players like an AD, like an Austin Reeves, is going to be able to like handle those parts of it. So it should be kind of interesting. But yeah, I mean, if we're talking about the Lakers' chances to win next year, I think they're not going to win. So
Lakers fans and media are gonna kill that team. JJ Redick as the new head coach.
That's the craziest part too of it.
Bronny.
Yeah,
it's literally a sitcom.
It's so bad. It's like we're watching Winning Time, but in real life.
It's like losing time.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, I'm wondering if the Lakers will be penalized and lose a draft pick. So when the agent Rich Paul apparently it's all over that he was telling teams do not draft Bronny, or if you do, he will go to Australia. So now that the Lakers have drafted him, and he's probably not going to go to Australia. I mean, players have said like, oh, I don't want to play for this team before, but obviously Bronny did not get taken in the first round. And Rich has been going out saying like, oh, you can't take LeBron. It's not a package deal. Like, I mean, his agent did a very good job of making sure that LA could take him in the second round and protecting this asset. And that's, I mean, is that tampering in some way? It seems to me like there should be some sort of like, he will only play for this team and nobody else. I mean, that's you get in trouble for that kind of stuff if that happens.
Yeah,
we got tampered for Drew Eubanks.
Yeah,
I don't know, man.
Yeah, if he doesn't go to Australia, it is tampering.
Yeah, they gotta do something, but they won't because it's the Lakers.
It's also LeBron.
Real quick, you guys. I do want to bring on a guest and friend of the channel and personal friend of mine who helped us out big time yesterday, Ben Parker. We're going to bring him on in a minute because he wants to talk about a prospect who was just drafted. And I would like to hear his opinion on the Bronny James stuff too. So I think we're going to kind of round out the show with this. We'll get Ben's thoughts on everything. We'll talk to him for a little bit. Then we'll kind of just get some final thoughts on the draft and as it is. Maybe we'll talk a little free agency. We'll probably go for another 30 minutes. You guys cool with that?
Yeah.
Cool.
All right, guys. Yeah, sounds good.
No, it's all good. You guys are welcome to come and go as you guys please. But I am going to bring on my friend Ben Parker. Ben, how you doing, man? Yesterday's show was absolutely excellent. Such a good time, good conversation. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. I just saw the news that Bron and the Lakers. A little suspicious looking at his stat. I'm like, okay, but that's not just me. But yeah, no, I texted you just now. Harrison Ingram to San Antonio, which was interesting for me because I covered him his freshman and sophomore years at Stanford. And then
so you know more about him than all of us put together.
Yeah, I think so. Maybe I don't know, but I covered him his freshman, sophomore years at Stanford, and then he transferred to North Carolina to boost his draft stock, and here we are. He goes 48. I think it was 48 to San Antonio, so he went. Good for him. A guy that was hoping to leave after his freshman year at Stanford went to the NBA Combine. They told him, you need more work. He goes back to Stanford for one more year. And then he, figures he needs to go somewhere else to improve his stock further and goes to North Carolina. So I'm very interested to see what he does in his San Antonio Spurs uniform. He's got tremendous size. He's like 6'7", 6'8", and kind of a jack of all trades guy that can pass the ball really well, kind of be a bit of a point forward. Really improved his shooting ability and is a really, really smart, high IQ player, and also rebounds really well, particularly as a defensive rebounder, but just kind of an all-around kind of glue guy, really good all-around player. So I'll be very interested to kind of see what he does in the Spurs organization. He's the kind of guy that they like. So I'm just interested to see what he does in the Spurs uniform.
Real quick, Ben, where are you right now? Because it kind of looks like you're in an NBA front office and you got the whiteboard behind you, the big board and all that. Where are you right now?
I'm at a school. I'm teaching summer school English, so nothing as exciting as that. So I teach summer school English every summer. But yeah, it does kind of look like a whiteboard.
I think you're working for an NBA team right now, and you're drafting.
It looks like
players,
I could
man.
be. Yeah, it looks like I could be. Drawing up the board, and here's who's left on the board, and. No, that's where I'm at. But no, I'm excited for Harrison and interested to see what he does. Because he's kind of the one major drawback from him. He's sort of sensitive on this, but he's not the most athletic guy, just in terms of he's not a guy that jumps out of the gym or anything like that. He threw down one dunk when he was at Stanford, and he was like, "Yeah, this proves I'm athletic." But it was like, bro, that's not really your forte. That's okay. Because he's got good size and he's really skilled. But a guy that, it does not wow people with his athleticism necessarily. So that's kind of why he's been a borderline prospect, but now he's going to get his shot.
So real quick, Ben, because we talked about this yesterday. I believe it was Spencer Jones who we were talking about. Was that the name
Yes.
from Cal?
Yes.
So when two kind of questions here for you. What were the years you covered Harrison Ingram, and I asked you this yesterday, what was the vibe in terms of his character like? Because that's obviously big for a lot of teams and the draft and everything.
Mhm.
And I know it was a couple of years ago or whatever, but like, when did you cover him? What was the vibe of his character like? Did he give you a lot of good interviews and all of that? And did he ever mention that he I don't know if players are allowed to do that, but like that he wanted to go to North Carolina? Like, I don't know. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I covered him his freshman and sophomore years. I'm trying to remember what years those were.
Probably like 2022 or 2021, maybe.
Yeah, I'm trying. Well, okay, so he's a junior, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, then I covered him. I'm just years kind of blur together. He's a junior. So yeah, I covered him his freshman sophomore year at Stanford. So his first 2 years of college basketball is when I covered him, and then he transferred to North Carolina. Yeah, no, really a high character guy. Really a nice kid. Certainly works really hard. I think he's a guy who expected to be in the NBA, and expected to be in the NBA sooner than when he got there. So I think when he committed to Stanford, I think he was expected to be a one and done player. That was his goal. That's why he entered the combine after his. That's why he entered the combine after his freshman year. Um, and then he got feedback out there his freshman year that he needed some things to work on. His measurables weren't great, just in terms of vertical leap, things like that. Um, but I mean, the fact that he's been drafted as high as he is, that he got drafted at all, I think speaks to his work ethic, and the fact that he was willing to take some of that feedback and improve his craft and improve his draft stock. I do wonder how much the move to UNC helped boost his draft stock. He got to go to the NCAA tournament, and get some more exposure there. But I just also think all around he just needed a little more time to kind of grow and develop, and and here he is. So it certainly paid off for him. But yeah, very high character guy, smart kid, works hard. And I know that his girlfriend was on the Stanford Beach volleyball team.
Okay.
I'm not sure if they're still together, but that's a detail that you can I can share with you guys. So that's
for all the hardcore Harrison Ingram fans for that information.
Yeah, and I'm like I said, I'm not even sure if they're still together, but at least at the time they were. So yeah, she's a beach volleyball player. So,
but I will say the way I look at it, with everything you're describing about his game and his character and all that stuff, and from what NBA.com has written about him, going to the Spurs, so seems like a Spurs type of player, and you know how Greg Popovich is with his players and all that. Going to be playing with Wemby and Stephen Castle and whoever else they got now. So we'll see, man.
He's a Popovich type guy for sure. Yes.
Yeah. Can definitely see it, man. I appreciate that insight and opinion. And I don't know how much, because I know you've been teaching today. I don't know if anything really crazy has happened in the second round, but do any of you guys have any kind of final thoughts here on the draft as a whole? Any surprises? We can just talk about whatever at this point, maybe go another 20 minutes or so, and we'll kind of just round out the show. If not, we can really just talk about whatever. This could just be the silly stuff, and we could just talk anything, man, except for politics.
You want silly?
And all that.
You want silly?
Let's do silly.
Apparently, it's coming out that Alex Sarr looks like Caden Clark.
We're at the silly stuff. We are at the silly off-season stuff now. We've gotten to that point.
And everything. Was it Jay Eastkeats from No Dunks just posted about it, and it kind of, I can share it if you want.
You're the co-host producer, man. Putting you on the spot here.
I'm just producing.
That's gonna be that's gonna be this part of the show. I'm gonna put you guys on the spot and just ask you guys random questions and NBA questions and Suns questions.
Alex Sarr looks like Caitlin Clark. I gotta be honest, I immediately saw it. I was like, yeah, I know what you're talking about. It's the nose, eyes, and eyebrows are just bang on.
That's amazing.
Alec.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
that.
God.
You wanted silly, so there you go.
Oh, God. What are we doing here, y'all? Jeez Louise.
Well, Danny Green looks like Lionel Richie. There's that too.
Hey, I know that one. Yeah.
Cam Christie looks like Max Christie.
Bronny
They're
looks like
brothers.
LeBron James.
Cody Williams looks like Jalen Williams because they're brothers. Oh, yeah. Speaking of that, by the way, Ben, we were talking earlier that Utah has had like a really, really good draft.
Mhm.
Like they're probably one of the not probably, they are one of the draft winners. You know what I mean?
Well, that's not.
Yeah.
I mean, they better be. I mean, because that's kind of been their whole plan, right? Was to like get rid of Donovan, get rid of Rudy, rebuild through the draft. And I mean, listen, I think Danny Ainge is one of the smartest minds in all of basketball.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And he really built that Celtics team. And so I think that shouldn't be a surprise to anyone. And I think for the Jazz, I think that, obviously, what they're really kind of hoping on banking on here is that through kind of this rebuilding through the draft and stockpiling assets and everything, that they'll be able to find a way to, really kind of take things to the next kind of level. Because, under Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert, they were a nice team. They were a consistent playoff team, win a series or something. But, they obviously have much higher aspirations than that. And so it'll be interesting to see. But yeah, I mean, for them, they better be, because they got Danny Ainge at the helm, and that's the whole idea. So they need to have good drafts. So
The way that I look at the Jazz, I don't know how you feel about this, Super Mario, is like, I mean, obviously they didn't win a championship with Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert and that whole core, but like they definitely have a lot of pieces going forward and a lot of assets. And as Ben said, one of the brightest minds in basketball. I like what they're building over there. There's still maybe a few question marks here and there, but they definitely are one of the winners of the draft. They have a lot of bright young talent over there. And I just think they're just going to keep growing, man. I mean, I would trust Danny Ainge, and eventually it's got to lead to something. You got to start winning, getting to the playoffs and going far into the playoffs and obviously make the playoffs. But I could see this team being a contender in maybe 3 to 5 years. Is that fair to say? Maybe that's too close. Maybe that's a little too optimistic there, but they definitely have a lot of talent and a lot of assets, and you never know what could happen in free agency. I don't want to fast forward to next off season, but we'll see what happens then. But I'm just saying they got a good man, a smart man running their team.
Yeah, I mean, I think they are kind of in the process of a weird rebuild. Like it's odd because I feel like the last 2 years, like maybe they could have like maybe made a slight push for the playoffs, but then like they kind of just hung around like in the weird middle area. But I do think this year like is gonna be like the first of like kind of locking into that. And I think that's why you're hearing all the marketing and trade rumors as well right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think they're probably gonna start a rebuild. I know Danny Ainge, I think when he took over the job, he said, I never built a team with the expectation to rebuild. But I think now he's going to kind of come into that role. But we've seen him like that. He's been able to, flip picks and everything like that in his favor. I mean, I don't think trading Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett was easy to do, but it got you back Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. Now you see what they just did, they won a title. And like, really, like, yeah, he wasn't there for it, but like it wouldn't have happened without him. So I don't know. I think that he like you guys were saying, like he's probably one of the smarter executives out there in the game so far or right now. And yeah, I think Utah has a lot to be excited for because, I mean, they're going to turn it around. I mean, I thought maybe they could have got all the way the 1 year with Mitchell and Gobert. You guys might not know. I know Suns Geek knows, but I'm a big Donovan Mitchell guy. So I thought the 1 year in 2021, like he was playing great, but I think it just wasn't, it didn't come together, So now they got to turn it around and fix what they can with their new young assets and their future picks.
I think a case could have been made for keeping Donovan and moving Gobert.
Yeah.
Because Donovan was younger, and I also feel like Gobert was the bigger problem. And in the bubble playoffs, like Mitchell was like leading the NBA or something. Like he was averaging like 28 a game. Like he was like putting up like crazy numbers. And my kind of thing of moving Donovan Mitchell was just like, I don't know, like, the odds of, finding a guy like that for the draft is not going to be easy. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I think they could have maybe. My opinion is like I think the one thought process though was like it was going to take a while to get the pieces back around him again. So might as well part ways with it. But Gobert, I get. I understand why they let Gobert go, but Mitchell was debatable. Yeah. I should also add too. I did meet Danny Ainge one time randomly.
Really?
Yeah. So I was at like Pac-12 tournament, and I was walking either in or out of the arena. I must have been like, I know I was on my way too. So I just had like lunch at like before Stanford was playing. I like grabbed like lunch at like the Shake Shack near T-Mobile Arena, which was like always my go-to down there. And as I was walking to the arena, like I saw this guy that looked like Danny Ainge walking towards me in a Jazz hat. And I was like, okay, this is gotta be Danny Ainge. And I was like, oh, like hi Danny and everything. And he was like not like super friendly, I'll be honest. Like he was a little more kind of dry, just like, oh, like hi, like nice to meet you, and kind of left. But
I don't
that was
sign autographs.
yeah, it was a little he was just kind of like he very like much about his business. He wasn't rude. I don't want to make that. I don't make that
Yeah.
he wasn't rude. He was just kind of like neutral, like, oh, like hi, That was it. That's really all my Danny Ainge story. It was like 5 seconds of like brief interaction. I think I maybe have said "Go Jazz" or something stupid, but so
Real quick,
yeah,
just
that
want
was
to
that.
address.
That's it.
Sorry, Ben. Just real quick, I just want to address this. Can we trade Nas Little for Tyler Kolek? No disrespect, mug, but no, that is not happening. New York is not going to do that at all. That was a steal for New York, in my personal opinion. I mean, anything's possible, but it's extremely unlikely the Knicks trade Tyler Kolek. I'm just saying, and that was a steal for them, in my personal opinion. Suns could develop Dunn and Oso. Yeah, they're going to. They're going to have to. That's why you made all these moves to get both of these guys. And yeah, that's why we also got a G League team, just in case. But yeah. So, guys, any final thoughts? Anything else y'all want to talk about? Like the first ever 2-day draft in NBA history is done and over.
And
So
I think it'll be the last. Because I feel like most of us know that the second round was so hyped up because we thought or people thought, oh, Bronny's going to get picked there. I wouldn't be surprised if next year and every other year after this, it goes back to the normal format.
That's fair.
I feel like this draft class is probably the worst draft class to do the 2-day draft with, because it wasn't a strong draft to begin with. So that might be the downfall for the NBA deciding to do it now and not waiting for a better class.
I just think they probably thought they would get the most revenue out of it by extending it 2 days, because it's like everyone's going to watch to see if Bronny gets picked. And sure enough, he didn't get picked till like the last like 4 selections too. So it's like by then you already watched like 2.5 hours. Like, when's Bronny? Oh, there he is. You know what I mean? And then it's like maybe people turn it off like 15 minutes early or whatever. But yeah, I could see like next year, because there's not going to be a second round pick talked about like that, like with the same consequence that could come with like, oh, we draft Bronny, maybe we get LeBron, or you know what I mean, something like that.
Yeah.
I can just tell you, I can guarantee you, there are some players out there that are looking at Bronny's. I'm just being real with y'all. That are looking at Bronny's stats and production in college, and kind of frustrated that feeling that he got drafted because who his dad is. You know what I mean? And there's only 60 spots. There's only 60 slots, guys to get picked. You know what I mean? And I don't know. And he goes to the Lakers. It just seems kind of like a very political draft pick. And like, I get it. I understand why they did it. And I wish him well. Like I said yesterday, I'm just glad the kid's alive after what happened to him in basketball. So I'm just glad he's alive. I'm just glad he's alive and he's doing well and he's in this position. So I don't want to take anything away from him. But I can just tell you, there's guys that got picked that did not get picked that feel like they were probably more worthy of being selected. And if you just look at their stats and production, they absolutely were. But at some point, Bronny James is going to have to let go of his dad's connection and make it on his own. So we'll see. Because I just know, like, an example that comes to my mind of a guy who I think got a look that otherwise wouldn't have because of his dad's name was Jerry Rice Jr. Remember, the Baltimore Ravens and the 49ers brought him in for a mini camp. And just if you look at Jerry Rice Jr.'s stats in college at UCLA, that dude had no business even getting to a mini camp. But because Jerry Rice was his dad, the Niners and Ravens were willing to kind of like bring him in for a look, And I feel like that's kind of what's happening here. So I don't know. It's complicated because you don't want to wish the kid, you want to wish the kid well, and you don't want to take anything away, but you just look at his stats. 4.6 a game. I'm like that gets you to the NBA, and I don't know. It's surprising, but I think what you were mentioning though yesterday, which is fair, Brandon, is that he must have shown them something in the combine.
Yeah,
and that and at the same time, you also want to think that they wouldn't just draft him because of who his dad is, and because Michael Jordan's son didn't get drafted. So, but yeah, I'll be very interested to see what he does. Very interested to see. And but I would say this though too, like Bronny James, when he came to Stanford this past year, that was like I think the only game that Stanford men's basketball sold out. They went all out for that game, and it was a packed event, and Stanford destroyed USC. And the reason why they had a packed student section and everyone came out to Maples Pavilion last year to watch Stanford play USC was because of Bronny James. So he definitely has a lot of people are very interested in how he does and interested in him. And so, yeah, maybe that's why they had a second day of the draft here because of him, because he definitely brings eyeballs. He brought eyeballs to Stanford for that night. So I don't know. It'll be interesting. Yeah.
No, I agree with like everything you just said right there. And optimistically, that was my kind of optimistic take about the Bronny James draft combine thing. Because let's be real, y'all, we can criticize, we can podcast and do live shows all day and watch the highlights. But let's be real, these scouts and GMs and people in the front office, they see a lot more than we do. Let's be real, man. That's what I think a lot of basketball fans forget about. Now, again, draft combine can only get you so far, but that was my optimistic take. Now, also keeping the topic on the 2-day draft thing, I uploaded like a 10-minute video of me just kind of ranting about the 2-day draft, but a good rant. I was a little more optimistic about it than most people were. And I wasn't trying to be like hot take or clickbaity, but I thought it was a good idea because as we saw, teams had an extra 12 or 20 something hours to make moves and kind of process things and see how the draft board was playing out and the moves that were made. And we'll see. I know it's all about ratings and numbers and money, but I don't know. We'll see what happens, man. Yeah. So, and yeah, as Abraham says, now time for the two-way contracts to come in. Over the last like 5 minutes, there's been like a lot of two-way deals that have been rolling in. So that's what's going to happen next. And then obviously free agency in 3 days. I'm excited for that. Can't wait. I'll definitely be live on this channel for free agency. Might have to get you guys all on again too.
Yes, sir.
So any final thoughts, man? Casey, you've been quiet over there, man. We might have to get your final thoughts on just anything, whatever you want to talk about. Any final thoughts? You can just tell people where to find you if you want, just whatever you want,
You guys already pretty much said everything. Really, nothing really for to add. Yeah.
Well, thank you for co-hosting, Casey, and helping me do the behind the scenes here. I do appreciate it, man. You want to tell the people where they can find you?
You can find me right here. No, find me on Twitter, Instagram, all that at Casey Vitelli, just my name. Which is
you see, Casey, how this YouTube stuff works is when I reel you in there, you got to kind of catch the thing, and
I'm a little tired today, not gonna lie. So I'm a little tired.
You're tired. Excuse me, sir. I live streamed for 4 hours yesterday, sir. Okay.
Who was there alongside you the whole time?
Not you. No, I'm just kidding. No, it was you.
Ben Parker was obviously not.
Yes,
me,
Ben Parker. Ben, you legit carried the show yesterday.
And he's also you and your teaching,
draft whiteboard over there, Mr. NBA front office executive that I have on the show here. So Ben, you want to tell the people where they can find you, man?
Yeah, just the handle for Facebook, Instagram, Twitter is Threads. It's Slam Dunk 406. And then if you want to find, I also have the NBA Lord thing. I don't, I have that going a little bit. So if you're interested in connecting with the NBA Lord stuff, just go to nbalord.com. And then the information for the Facebook and the Twitter is just at the end of every blog post. And then if you're interested in Stanford athletics, just go to cardinalsportsreport.com. That's kind of my main thing right now. And so, yeah, nbalord.com, cardinalsportsreport.com. Check it out. There you go.
I'm really nerdy about the description box in my videos, and I really do my best to try to get like everybody's links and the sources from all my videos and all that. So I'll make sure to find all that and put it on there so people can find you. Super Mario Hoops. Been a while since you've been on the show. Glad we reunited again, and thank you for especially your Bulls analysis and insights and all that. And thank you for being here, man. So where can they find you at, man?
Yes, sir. You guys can find me on YouTube at Super Mario Hoops 24. I'll talk about the NBA with my show throughout the season, every season. Do some, historic videos every now and then, maybe some current events. I'm dropping shorts pretty much daily, doing some IRL basketball, just a bunch of weird stuff, I guess. So, yeah, come check me out. I'm also on Instagram and Twitter. And, may have just dropped a video recently that had Suns Geek in it. So
I actually watched that last night before I fell asleep, man. And I made it to the part to where I don't want to spoil it, but I made it to the part to where I was in it. I'll just say that. So go check that out. Real quick though, even though I said we're about to end the show, Boyd from the Aussie Suns Fans podcast had to hop in here real quick. So I'm going to let him just join for a few minutes. And then we're going to get out of here because I want to go, live my life and not think of basketball for a couple days,
Boys.
Boyd.
Boysies. I'm so sorry. I thought it was a 10 a.m. Australia start, same as yesterday, but I got up. It's 5:45. You guys started a.m. over here, so I'm really sorry, but I was counting sheep. I was
all good, man.
So so look, you guys can tie it up, but just quickly. It's a quick overall recap because I've got to scroll through about 1,000 kilometers of Shams and Woj tweets to find out what really happened. But overall, in a vacuum, we traded our 2028 second round pick and our late 2024 second round pick for pick number 40, which was that Oso guy, whoever the hell he is. And we still maintain 2 future second round picks, in our kitty. Is that right?
I believe so. I believe that is correct.
Who the bloody hell
today,
is
man.
also Ighodaro or whoever he is? How do you pronounce his name? Ighodaro. And who is he? Just quickly.
A big player from Marquette who probably might go to the G League, maybe. I don't know.
A big player from Marquette.
One report from NBA.com via RotoWire or whatever that's called compared him to a more athletic Yusuf Nurkic. That's the short cliche report, but that's not even like a deep dive.
Didn't you also say shades of Al Horford?
Yeah.
Was that one?
I said it's a guy that kind of reminds me of like a Mike Budenholzer type player. So maybe.
Okay. Well, thank you guys. Oh, sorry for being so late, mate. And
no, it's okay, man.
Just kick me back on out, and I'll talk to you in the chat afterwards, Suns Geek, and we'll I'll get my bearings about me then. But thanks, dude.
It's all good, man. I was gonna let everybody know too. Like I legit texted all of you, well, except for Super Mario because you weren't here yesterday. But I said we had really good chemistry yesterday, y'all. Like that was a really good show, and I appreciate all 4 of you for being here and helping me out. Like it helps out the channel. It helps me out. We had good chemistry, and it was a lot of fun, y'all. So, Boyd, so sorry that you missed all this, but we'll have to get you back on again. Maybe we'll get the other Aussies on as well one time. It'll be a fun time.
Don't worry about them. Just me, mate. Just me.
You, Boyd.
That's all you need.
Boyd's a fun one, so yeah.
Thanks, mate.
All right, y'all. Thank you guys so much for joining. This has been a legendary 2 days on the Suns Geek channel. Could not have done it without the 5 of you and every other guest we had on. We had Jake FallenFounder from the Suns Planet Pod on. We had Suns Worldwide. We had John from the Suns Jam Session podcast. Epic, legendary show. Like I said, I get nerdy about my description box, so I'll put everybody's links down below. You'll probably have to give me a few hours. I'm going to put all the links down below. Check that out. I don't know what Casey's pointing at over there.
368 people watching.
Yeah, we got 368 people, y'all. That's just incredible. Like, thank you guys so much for doing that. It really does help the channel. Please, guys, crush that like button. Share the show. That really helps me out, you guys. And whenever I do put the links in the description, go follow everybody's channels and pages and all that stuff, y'all. So appreciate you guys. Love you guys. And I'll give you guys the floor for one more second because I did this yesterday. We're going to do it again. Let's keep it nice and positive. But what's your message to the world? Boyd, we're going to start with you, man. What's your message to the world? Putting you on the spot before we get out of here.
My message to the world is do unto others what you want done to yourself. Is that one? You know,
that works.
Is that the metaphor? Is that the saying? Sorry, you can hear my kids in the background. But yeah,
no, it's okay.
Love each
that
other.
works.
Love each other.
I like that. That works, man. Super Mario, what's your message to the world, man?
My message to the world is either what would my message to the world be?
Putting you on the spot.
Okay, my message to the world is either you run the day or the day is gonna run you.
Preach.
So yeah, do like if you're thinking about something, you don't know what to do, just do it before you sit back and then everything transpires in a way that's uncontrollable and put yourself in a better situation.
Preach, brother, preach. Casey, what's your message to the world?
I was gonna say light the beam again, but that's kind of, you expect that already. I don't know. I did not think of this. I don't know. Treat others the way you want to be treated. There you go.
Preach. For me, oh wait, no, I'm sorry, Ben. What's your message to the world?
Oh, it's a Jerry Sloan quote. It's you can't win the Kentucky Derby riding a jackass. You need some thoroughbreds. So ties into the NBA draft. Ties in the NBA draft, right?
I love it. One of the greatest coaches ever, by the way. Rest in peace, Jerry Sloan.
Bulls legend.
Yeah,
Bulls legend.
Yes.
My final thoughts, y'all, are first off, eat your apples. I know these don't look very good, but they were delicious and they were very good. Also, I learned this lesson. I'm not going to really get into this on the channel. It's a personal thing, y'all. I learned my lesson last year to stay hydrated. I've been drinking twice as much water, twice as much electrolytes. Stay hydrated. And I'm going to steal this from the Suns Jam Session podcast, but go home and love your families. Seriously, y'all. Thank you guys for watching. God bless you guys. Peace out. Win or lose, Phoenix Suns for life. And go Suns.
What's up, Suns Geek?